Good evening, race fans, and welcome here to race number 12 of the Clutch Drop Cup Series as we get ready to go racing at the concrete mile track known as Dover International Raceway. I'm Seth Cole alongside of Scott Rankin, and Scott, here today, these drivers are ready to take to the track for 260 laps, but the question is Miles the Monster hungry?
Miles the Monster is always hungry. I mean, you look at that exit of turn number 3, that little bump in the road where the banking comes back to level footing. It's not easy. It is gonna eat up, it is gonna chew, and it is gonna spit out some very damaged race cars before we're done here tonight. That is a certainty. Who those cars are gonna be, who's playing the preservation game, who's playing the fuel game, who's playing all of these little box games is a big part about racing here at the Monster Mile. I tell you what, it's the Clutch Drop Cup Series, man. This is my favorite part of every week.
It's time to go green. 70 laps here for the first stage. High Five Racing entire front row as Blaze McKinney and Jacob Grant will lead him into turn 1.
I'm going to have to let you take over for a little bit because I haven't actually got any footage at the moment. I'm going to work on that, so.
Alright, so right now 1, 2, 3 for the High Five Racing Machines as Braxton DeWeese slots into that third spot. Matt Dyer in fourth, and we didn't get to broadcast last week the twists and turns, the Darlington Stripes, the throwbacks of Darlington Raceway, but a big congratulations to Justin Belmonte picking up his first win on the season, as right now he holds down the 5th position. Had a driver back there, looked like he was a little loose in the corner, and he's a bit slow. That's the 10, I believe, Orlando Chicano. He's migrated up into that second groove, which we will see come into play as this track begins to rubber in, but not at this point in time. And one thing that we're going to be talking about during the course of this race is going to be those tires, because being a concrete surface, any track we go to with the concrete surface is going to be very abrasive on these Goodyears. Subsequently, these drivers will have 6 sets of tires, including the ones they started this race on, to be able to work with.
Yeah, so what I was saying before, tire conservation, machine conservation, conserve everything you got available to you. The Monster Mile, I mean, it's bumpy for what is effectively a nice, tight, closed-in circuit. It is actually quite bumpy. That's just the nature of the circuit, the changes of the banking, getting down to the bottom, making sure you get the car to wrap around the bottom as well. The cars tend to smash grills at the splitters are going to be worked hard this evening. There's a whole bunch of different factors are going to be contributed. My hopes for these guys tonight is that they've done their practice, which, knowing a lot of the cars that are out there, they definitely do their practice. You look at all the guys from SRD Motorsport, they are constantly tweaking with their setups. They get them in, they look at them, they adjust them the way that they want to be, and then they run out on front for most of the evening. So setting ourselves up for a longer run. If I'm in that position right now, I'm just conservative. I'm just looking after things. I want to make sure that these tires last, because you can burn the tires up like you wouldn't believe at Dover.
There's one of those SRD cars you were just talking about, Brian Sybry, former winner this season, as he's trying to get around Caleb Smith, who got loose off of turn 4 a lap ago and actually got the wall. Matt Dyer nearly got the wall off of turn 2 the previous lap, and somebody else back there, I think that might have been Mike Tellier, looked like he was loose off of turn 4. So we're starting to see that these drivers are trying to search around for grip, some of them not having success. Smith's going to get the wall again there off of turn 4. That's going to open the door for Keenan Massey to try and take the 7th spot. Now, these drivers were at Darlington last week. Of course, we know that's a track where it's famed to go up and brush the outside wall. With the hits that we're seeing taken early here today, do you think that that's going to affect these drivers for this long run if we continue to run green, or are these composite bodies strong enough to be able to take those hits without really affecting the car, especially the handling of the machine?
The handling will definitely be affected. I mean, anytime you're changing the way that the air flows over a car, you are going to change where you put the load across the surface of the car. Aero load, physical. You got to remember that there's 2 ways you're going to generate grip. There is mechanical grip, there is aero grip, and with the shorter track here, they are definitely going to be running that high downforce package. You want to keep that airflow pristine. You want to make sure that it is nice and smooth, that the car is applying the load to all of its tires as it needs to be. I mean, you definitely don't want to be working this thing hard. So, yeah, there's going to be issues. Whether or not they're right now, I don't think so. Whether or not it's going to be in 10 or 15, 20 laps time, yeah, it will be.
Library on the move. We saw him get around Caleb Smith earlier, who continues to drop back. Smith's now back to the 10th position, losing spots to Travis Daly and now one to Alonso Chicano, so dropped the 25 back to 11th. Matt Dyer was passed moments ago by the 33, so move him up to 5th place. Now he sets his sights on the 12 of Justin Belmonte. There's still a long ways to go here in the regular season, but of course for Belmonte, picking up that win last week at Darlington, he continues to grow his points lead for the overall point standings between himself and Mike Tellier. 27 points coming into this race, and to get the monkey off his back, as he's going to brush the wall a bit there for Justin Belmonte. Now he kind of is able to go out there, maybe be a little bit more aggressive than we've seen him in the past few weeks to try and pick up win number 2, because undoubtedly he's been one of the most consistent drivers ever since they dropped the green flag at season's beginning at Daytona.
Look, I mean, work on that consistency. Keep going forward. Cybery's been phenomenal, and the best part is he's just such a generically well-loved guy as well. There's a lot of support for him right throughout the list of the drivers. So he can now leverage that to his advantage as well. He knows that he's got a lot of respect from the guys around him, and that's super important. He put the head down early on in the season. He put the head down. He made sure he raced clean, and he was still out in front, still doing everything. And now he's reaping the rewards. So, there's a lot of positives to take away from that, and a lot of stuff that he's got to still keep working on, because he wants to make sure that at season's end he is there and he is in the equation for a win.
Something we're going to have to keep our eyes on here as this run progresses. If we do manage to run the first 70 laps, the first stage under green flag conditions, Jeremy Bushi, former winner, two-time winner this season in the 73, actually started from pit road. So he's about half a lap down right now. He's just now going into turn 3. Race leader Blaine McKinney was going through 1 and 2 at the time. So we'll see if the 73 can keep himself ahead of the race leader, stay on the lead lap before we end up getting to the stage caution. Caleb Smith has actually just now dove onto pit road, getting the wall a couple of times. The caution's actually out. Yellow flag's going to wave. Oscar Jensen and Mike Tellier, I believe, have gotten together. There is Tellier's machine up against the outside wall in turn 3.
Man, Mike Tellier's season just goes from bad to worse. I mean, he's definitely not had the show of consistency, the show of form that he's had up until now, which is disappointing. He's been trying to get that back. I don't know if he's literally throwing this, that, and everything back at the car to try and really get it to come back underneath him, but it just hasn't worked, and it's unfortunate. Tellier is the man that we were looking at last season and saying, this is the guy you want to watch. You want to be trying to do what this guy's doing, follow him around, pick up all the bits and pieces you possibly can off him. This season he's come out, he's not there, man, and it's frustrating. It is 100% frustrating.
Not really sure what happened to Oscar Jensen there, but I think Mike Tellier swerved in relation trying to avoid the 46, who just darts down to the inside here, heading into turn 3. It's looking like there was some connection problems. Yeah, he disappears right there. Tellier drifts up the track and clobbers the outside wall, so much so that the whole front end actually grabbed the safer barrier, and he couldn't even get the car refired. And to your point, at this point last season, 12 races in, Mike Tellier was already a 2-time winner. This season, yes, he is second in the point standings, but most of that is because he's been able to rack up stage points. He's only got 1 top 5 so far this season.
Yeah, but again, I actually thought that Mike Tellier wouldn't even be that close in terms of points, to tell you the truth. And the reason I say that is exactly that. He has not had a top 5 in terms of points. His season has not been kind to him, and there's nothing that he can feasibly do right now in terms of the overalls, except for make sure that he's still picking up those stage points when and where he can. Great job to him. He's done a phenomenal job. If he can just squeak out some better overall results, he's in a great position, man.
Miles the Monster certainly whetting his appetite. I think he's already ordered his appetizer. Caleb Smith has retired out of the race. He'll finish 20th. Mike Tellier on pit road. That car badly damaged. Currently 3 laps down. Oscar Jensen, as we saw with that, looked like connection problems. He has not returned back into the server. He's 3 laps down right now in 18th. And just moments ago, we saw Matt Dyer disappear from our telemetry screen. He's not come back into the server just yet. Right now being scored in the 15th position. This caution is going to help a couple of drivers, including Jeremy Bushi, who was about half a lap away from being put -1, so he'll remain on the lead lap. And we did have a number of drivers come down pit road to get some damage repaired during the course of that green flag run, including Dylan Stipe, Alex Link, Travis Daly, and Tim Hendry. So if drivers are out there dealing with damage that was really affecting how their cars were handling, this caution, a little bit of a breather for them to be able to see if they can get their cars at least somewhat up to about 100% here for what should be about a 50, well, maybe about a 49 lap shootout to the end of stage 1.
Yeah, look, again, stage points. They're, how hard do you push for them? The way that you've got to value them is, look, if you're up there and you're in front and you're already there, look, they're a bonus. They're not something they're going to go and continue pushing out of your way for to keep grabbing. If you're there and you're there and thereabouts, sure, push a little bit harder for those stage points. Burn up your car, throw a little bit more caution to the wind, especially if you know over the long run your car's not necessarily going to be there at the very back end of the race when we go green for such an extended period of time in the final stage. So that'll be the mentality that a lot of the drivers will be going through. I'm looking at guys like Cyber and whatnot. They're stage points to them. It's not a big concern. They'll take them when they're on offer, but they won't, Anyway, I'll be right back, my man. I'm trying to see if I can get this graphics glitch fixed, and I can actually get cars out on track.
All right, no problem there. A couple of other drivers that did come down pit lane that I believe just came down for regular pit stop were Brian Cybery, Braden Carroll, and Jeremy Bushi, all former winners this season. Of course, Braden Carroll having that win 3 weeks ago at Talladega Superspeedway. If you look up here at our top 5, we've got 3 of those 5 that have gone to victory lane. Braxton DeWeese, our winner from Richmond, our winner last week, Justin Belmonte, and Keenan Massey, our winner from Martinsville. But you've got your front row here. Drivers have not gone to victory lane. Now, Blaze McKinney's actually making his debut here tonight in Season 2 of the Clutch Drop Cup Series, and a very fitting first name as he has blazed the competition in practice, qualifying, and so far in the race. He's been top of the board in all 3 sessions. But Jacob Grant right now, the first full-time driver, he is the highest running without a victory. Grant comes into this race right now 7th in the overall stands, and a win could lock him a spot up in the playoffs, as several drivers experiencing the wheel spin at the drop of the green flag as we are back underway here at Dover International. The battle is going to be for second place. Braxton DeWeese going to try and get by his teammate. Oh, contact! Grant's going to go down into Keenan Massey. Somehow they all keep it together. I don't even know how the 47 wasn't hooked up into the outside wall. Grant's got damage on the right side of his machine, but we should have had a wreck back there in turn 3. Somehow we don't. Somehow we're still underway here at Dover, and we dodged a bullet because that would have been a wreck right up at the very front of the field. So tremendous job there by Jacob Grant to keep it together. Great job by Keenan Massey not to get hooked. So far, everybody getting back into formation, trying to ride this thing out and get back into a long green flag run. We ran about 18 laps under the last green flag run at the drop of the green flag to start this race. Saw William Byron earlier on today in the NASCAR Cup Series race bring his number 24 home in the 4th position, as that's Alonso Chicano out of shape just ahead of Brandon King, who will now move into 4th place. So Brandon King hoping that paint scheme is going to give him good luck here tonight in clutch drop. And a big slide there for Alonso Chicano, a former winner this season from Phoenix, as he was able to hang on to it, only lost 1 spot as a result. And look at the battle back here. Contact again. That was Cody Terry, Travis Dowley, and Jacob Grant, who continues to struggle, that were in that mix. And I think Grant may have brushed the wall off of turn 4 once more. So, oh, and now Cody Terry going to get hooked into the wall off the nose of Travis Dowley. Is that going to bring out a caution? No, it is not, as Terry's car comes to rest down on the apron, technically off the racing surface. He will get the thing refired. There may be oncoming traffic, though. Leaders coming out of turn number 2. 19's going to keep it low and bring it to pit lane, so twice we probably should have had a caution flag come out here on this run, and we have not. And Blaze McKinney has opened up a second and a half now, back to Braxton DeWeese, who also enjoys a second and a half, back to Keenan Massey. So all these near misses has really split up the field, and there is the caution. It's going to fly, I believe, for Cody Terry once again, who's looped it around off of turn 4 and onto the front straightaway. Second caution of the day here at Dover. Let's go back and see what happened. Cody Terry, I thought being down the apron was going to bring his machine down pit road, but instead he elected to keep it out there on the racetrack, and I'm not certain how race officials are going to feel about this one. He actually crossed the commitment line there to come to pit road, brought it back up onto the racing surface, and brought the car to a stop on the racing surface with oncoming traffic. Race officials would have to throw the caution. A lot of times in leagues, admins do not look on that favorably of a driver that has spun out purposely bringing a yellow flag out, so we'll see about that one. I want to go back here again. I mean, let's take a look at the incident that first happened to Cody Terry, which he probably thought should have brought out a yellow to begin with. He and Travis Daly were battling for, I believe that was the 8th position at the time. 19, I think, just maybe tried to clear himself. Travis Daly was there. Now at this point right here, 19 of Cody Terry thought there should be a caution. He had his car stopped down on the inside line. There was oncoming traffic in the form of our race leader. He gets the car refired and continues on. Now watch here when he comes through 3 and 4. Pit road is designated with an orange box. You have to have all 4 tires to the left of that orange box, and there you see it. And he was on the left side of that orange box, so he would have technically have crossed the commitment line saying, hey, I'm coming to pit road. He did not come to pit road, and here's where the big question mark comes out with him stopping on the racetrack right there, purposely having a caution flag come out. So it does keep him 1 lap down. We'll have to see if he's going to end up getting some time penalty for that as well, as I'm not really certain about that one there for the 19, but obviously he felt he should have had a caution flag for the incident on the back straightaway, and he was going to get it one way or another. So several drivers hit pit lane. 3 drivers going to elect to stay out. Travis Daly in the 15 will be the race leader. Brian Cybery and Jeremy Bouchy, who were on pit road under the last caution, they're going to stay out into 2nd and 3rd. Blaze McKinney was the first one down and away on pit road. He'll restart 4th with Braxton DeWeese, Brandon King, Keenan Massey, Justin Belmonte, Alonzo Chicano, and Derek Schilling, your top 10. Update on the drivers that we saw have connection problems and fall out of the server. Neither one have returned back onto the track. Oscar Jensen looks like he will officially finish either 18th or 19th, depending on if Mike Tellier is able to get back out and turn a couple of circuits. Matt Dyer right now being scored out of the race in 17th place, and Cody Terry still sits on pit road, now 2 laps down to the race leader. So there'll be 15 cars on the lead lap. Those 15 are the only ones that are currently being scored running on the racetrack at this point in time. 2 drivers still scored in the race, the 19 and the 97, sitting on pit road. Now Travis Daly trying to get his way into the playoffs, either through a win or pointing his way in. He is 12th in the overall standings so far this season. 1 top 5 and 3 top 10s in the 8 starts that he has made so far this year. We saw that he had some contact there with Cody Terry that didn't bring out the caution on the back straightaway. So he definitely got some damage. You could definitely see it right there on the right side of that machine, pancaked in. A little bit of damage there as well to the left front, where the 19 kind of squeezed him up into the outside walls. So not only is he going to be out there on older tires, he's also going to be out there with a slightly damaged machine, but he will be the one to lead us to green nonetheless. And we're also going to get an idea here as well of how these drivers are going to do with old tires versus fresh tires. 11-lap old tires for Travis Daly, and 13-lap old tires for Brian Cybery and Jeremy Bouchy, to the fresh Goodyears behind them in the form of the fastest car so far this weekend, the 87 of Blaze McKinney. So we will be about halfway, almost halfway here, through the first stage. as Cody Terry has returned back to the track in the 19. He will be 2 laps down when we get this, our second green flag of the day, for a restart. Pace truck
me there now,
makes the
Steph?
left-hand turn to pit road. We've got you, Scott.
Alright, sweet, we got everything figured out. Don't you love a weekend filled with graphical issues? Here we go, boys.
Technology is a beautiful thing.
Most of the time. Most of the time.
Most of the time. Green flag back in the air. The older tires of Travis Dowley pulling away for the moment. Braxton DeWeese now the highest on fresh tires, was able to get around his teammate, dropping McKinney back to 5th. DeWeese now looking for 2nd on Jeremy Bushi.
Yeah, just keep an eye on what Sarbury ends up here, because, like, there's a couple things to consider. He got shoved to the outside line, so obviously he wants to get back down there once again. But again, Sarbury just might be playing it safe. He's obviously not got the best car right now. He's not got the fastest car. There's a tiny little bit of damage on his right rear corner. Oh, big spin for Grant!
And caution is going to fly for that as he collects up the 19, the lap machine of Cody Terry. Yellow flag is going to fly for the 3rd time here today.
My word, and you thought the Monster Mile was going to cause chaos? It was going to eat drivers up? It was going to chew their cars and spit them out? I did not expect it to be this bad for a lot of the drivers. They're obviously having problems. It is, look, I'll put it plain and simply. The reason that there is a monster at this race course is because it is a monster. It's in the same vein, if you will, as, say, Mount Panorama for the Aussie enthusiasts, for the European enthusiasts, the Nürburgring, the Grinny Hell. It is basically in that same vein. You have to respect the track. If you do not respect the track, then the track will take its first opportunity to chew you up and spit you out. You might ride through that first opportunity, but the second one, oh baby, you don't get a second chance. You might escape with your life at the first, but on the second one,
Absolutely not. That was Braden Carroll, our Talladega winner, that we were on board with, and it was kind of hard to tell if maybe Jacob Grant moved up the track or if Braden Carroll came off the wall. But obviously both drivers wanted the same piece of real estate, and while Dover can hold them 3 wide, it's not advised, but can hold them 3 wide, once you come off the corner, not nearly as spacious on the front and back straightaways.
Yeah, look, I mean, corners quite wide. There's a heap of banking there. There's obviously a lot of different ways to go, but it's got a pinch. We go back last week and we talk about Darlington and we talk about what the drivers would have experienced there. There's pinch points at multiple points on that track. It's where the track narrows. It's where there's a difference, right? There's a difference between the full racing surface and the usable racing surface. Now, when we talk about usable racing surface, you can say that top line's usable if you're a lapped car, if you're trying to get out of the way, if you're trying to allow those other cars to have the corner and you just want to shuffle in behind them. Yeah, that is a usable surface. Other than that, is it necessarily a usable surface? The only time you're going to be using it's when you're catching the car, making sure that you keep it off the wall. So whilst the corners, they are big and wide, they are actually a lot more narrow than you expect, and the usable part of the track that you want to be running on is definitely not all the way out there. You come to the corner exit, the cars want to not snap loose, but utilize definitely the higher side of the course, try and set themselves up, and there's humps there. I mean, you come to Dover, the humps in the track and how you manage them and how you manage the throttle over them, they're going to be a large portion of your lap, and they're going to be a large portion of your car management. I say a lot of these things, and I look at the field, and I look at the drivers that we've got within this field. These are brilliant drivers. These are not your rookies. If we were talking rookies, this race would be a hell of a lot more chaos than it actually is. So these guys know all of these things. They know how to respect the Monster Mile. They know how to respect the corners. Watch the way that they take the corners. Watch the way they drive and manage their cars. You'll learn a lot by just watching these guys go around the racetrack and listening to their inputs, man.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. Dover's got itself quite a reputation here in the Clutch Drop Cup Series, because if you go back to last season, we had 8 cautions in that race. We're already up to our 3rd caution here today. But of the 18 drivers last year that took the green flag for that Dover race, only a total of 5 of them managed to finish on the lead lap, and we see already that out of the 20 drivers who took the green flag here today, only 14 of them right now scored on the lead lap, and they're the only 14 that right now are running on the racetrack.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot that needs to be said in terms of, sticking it out, even with a damaged car, even with, a long shot. But you look at the guys like Matt Dyer today. I mean, Dyer's... Let's be perfectly honest. Matt Dyer has had probably one of the worst seasons on record that he's ever likely to experience. He's just... Things have not gone his way. Whenever he's tried to throw a dummy, whenever there's been an option to go on an alternative strategy, there's been a caution that comes out that just completely takes that option away from him, and ruins his day. But what's the best thing that he can possibly be doing? He can stay out there on track and earn some extra points if the car's capable of doing that. Obviously, he's taken behind the pit wall for a reason. Could be a long weekend. He could be struggling. And there is also the case for saying, look, I'm not here. I'm not all here. I'm gonna not have a great time. So let's just park it. Let's come back next week with a better mindset.
Much like Darlington, where these drivers were at last week, not only a physical track for the drivers here at Dover, but a mental track as well. Green flag back in the air as Travis Daly's going to lead them into turn 1. That strategy of staying out so far has seemed to work for him, but now the fresh tires of Braxton DeWeese is clear of the other 2 machines out of SRD, and he's looking for the top spot. Actually, he's got to focus instead because his teammate Blaze McKinney wants the 2nd spot.
Yeah, Blaze McKinney is a phenomenal driver. So when you talk about, the prestige of the drivers, Braxton's got to be careful because he has to manage that relationship. I mean, fresh tires means that Braxton should be faster, but he's got to make sure that he works with his teammate McKinney because he wants to earn his respect, right? He wants to run with him. He wants to make sure that they are working together as much as a team outfit as they possibly can. And if he's just being a little bit too aggressive now, one of the things that I've noticed lately is that the better drivers, the main reason that they are the better drivers, they can run the same pace for a lot longer and look after their tires a lot better. That is the difference between a rookie and a pro.
We're riding on board right here with our pole sitter, Blaze McKinney. I want everybody just to take notice because you really don't see it when you're looking at these drivers from a third-party standpoint, but this gives you an idea of just what these drivers are facing when they take a lap around Dover. It's almost kind of like a roller coaster, but obviously the inclines and the declines are not at such a degree as you would see at a roller coaster, but it is an up and down. Going here through 3 and 4, this is a little bit of like a valley, a dip. Watch when he comes off of turn 4. That is an elevation change. He is going uphill to the start-finish line into turn 1. Car dips down again into the corner. So it's almost like these drivers, in a way, they're going over a hump on both the front and back straightaways. If you go down into that corner and you're on the splitter, the car's not going to want to turn. It's going to want to go straight. Same thing if you got the car set up where the splitter's going to hit coming on the uphill, it's going to hurt your straightaway speed. So these drivers have to have their car set up in such a way here at Dover that it's able to handle not only the elevation change uphill on the straightaways, but also that huge dip down into the corners entering 1 and 3.
Let's talk about the reasons for those elevation changes, So obviously other tracks do definitely have to have those elevation changes with the, so let's talk about banking. It's definitely a lot higher here at Dover than you would experience in multiple other locations. But the main reason is that elevation change is occurring much, much quicker because the track surface is shorter. You're condensing what would normally be an elevation change and a banking change from a much, much longer racetrack. Let's say something like Auto Club, Michigan, Kentucky, Kansas, these sorts of tracks, right? They've got a longer region on the exit of their corners that they can gradiate the banking back down to a nearer, flatter surface. You don't have that option at Dover. It is a short track. It is the 1 mile monster. And part of that 1 mile monster is, and part of the design of that 1 mile monster is that you have to come back from a higher banking to a much, much lesser banking in a shorter period of time, and that's what causes this. Let's talk about what the cars and the tires are undergoing with on the entry and exit of those bankings. I'm just watching Brandon King actually at the moment get a little bit loose going into 1 and 2, which is right over those banking changes. It is a hump. You come up, the car unloads. There's no weight on those tires when something like that happens. So you got to be very mindful of managing how those tires get it. Cyber's going to shuffle him up, and he's going to grab that spot away. So look, it's something to talk about. It's something the driver, again, I talk about these guys They do their practice. This is not an unknown factor to them. They are good at it because they have practiced and they've worked on that throttle management. Practice makes perfect. And right now, I think that King is actually making better use of that high line than Cyber can make use of that low line.
Absolutely, was able to hold off Brian Cyber for
Something's happened to
place.
Cyber.
I think Belmonte noticed that the top side was working, so he jumped up there and is trying to go around for the 7th position.
It's not that. The part that's interesting, I think he got loose. He's struggling to get this car off the corners right now. If you just watch the 69 machine of Derek Schilling and behind him, Schilling's actually holding the low line and still generate good run down the pace. I'm pretty sure that Cyber is struggling for grip. He's going to find a way at this next major stop and at the stage break to get that car back underneath him. He finally gets the job done on Justin Belmonte, but that took him 3 or 4 laps, man.
And you got to wonder just how much of his tires did he use up in that attempt. Remember that Brian Cyber is out there against the rest of the competition on about 10, 11 lap older tires than everybody else. Did not come to pit road on the 2nd or 3rd cautions of the day. Most everybody else came down pit road on caution number 2. Now, we're only 50 laps into this race, but you can clearly see when these drivers go into the corners already that there's about 2.5 grooves from the bottom where the track has started to rubber in. Now, Scott, you're more of an expert on iRacing than I am. I'm not very familiar with the sim, but we know that in the Cup Series and the Xfinity Series and the Truck Series, in the actual NASCAR Series at Dover, when that rubber is laid down under green, when the caution comes out, drivers then pick up all that rubber on their tires. Does iRacing have a thing where under caution, under pacing, that these drivers pick up that rubber and have to deal with the wheel spin on restarts?
Yes and no. It does happen, but you got to remember that simulations is such a complex thing to model reality, and iRacing is probably one of the closer ones in terms of tire physics and bits and pieces like that, laying the rubber down, finding the grooves and those sorts of things. In fact, a lot of people do say it is the best, especially in terms of tire heat and those things as well. So, look, yeah, it's partial. It's not perfect. Look, the wheel spin factor is more to do with the tire temperature and the tire wear than it is picking up the rubber, than it is to do with the groove. Oh, the 10 just got collected!
Keeps it straight. That thing's going to come to a stop, though, and that will bring out the yellow flag. Caution's going to fly for the 4th time today, about 15 laps away from the completion of our first stage.
Well, short run to the end of the stage here. I think if you're sitting in Cyber's point of view, you've got 2 options, right? You're going to be pitting in the very near future for tires anyway. I think some of the guys that come down pit road earlier, they didn't necessarily take tires. They want to be banking those sets of tires up for that final stage. Yeah, it comes back to what we were talking about earlier. You can take stage points, right? You can take the option to take stage points. But stage points are such a minor sort of, they're kind of like a bonus. They're not anything that's really feasible when you talk about the overall points. And Cybery's always played that in mind. He's been more likely to just go, look, if you guys want to burn up tires and you want to take stage victories, I'm going to take the overall. That's just how he races, you know. So do I think he's coming down pit road for tires this time by? No, I think he's going to stay out on track. So long as he's good on fuel, we got some takers. The 73. I thought Bushi was going to be a taker there. Heart and mouth moment for me.
Watching this incident here with Alonso Chicano, and it looks like he may have just brushed the wall, but that looks eerily similar to what was happening earlier with Oscar Jensen when his car just darted down to the left and that hit into the outside wall has actually now sent Alonso Chicano to the garage area, another former winner out of this event, and I don't think I documented it, but after the last caution, Jacob Grant, who started on the outside of the front row, he is actually going to be out of this race as well, currently scored in 15th position. So Miles the Monster continues to eat them up and spit them out here today, as right now, according to our telemetry, 6 drivers have called it an early evening here at Dover, and we haven't even reached the end of stage 1.
Well, I think Miles has been pleasantly fed so far this evening. Look, who knows? We don't bring him out often enough. He doesn't get fed often enough. Look, this time of the year, he is all the rage. Everyone wants to go up and feed Miles the monster. So, I don't know. Maybe Miles, you take a few of these cars, you put them aside, you use them for that downtime. What do you think? Seth, if you were Miles, would you be putting a few cars away for the winner?
Yeah, well, I mean, he had to wait since October of last year, last time the clutch drop drivers came here, so he's been had enough time to be able to whet that appetite for sure.
Be a hungry monster. No wonder he's reaching out and plucking a few of those cars. I mean, you take a look at Chicano. Let's talk about that incident in particular. He darts down the track. That's those humps. It's just, and I'm going to be perfectly honest with you, it is a couple of percentage throttle pressure difference between perfect and fence. That is, it is. There's nothing in it, man. If you have a lower end set of pedals, you've got even less room to move in and wiggle in terms of your throttle management. To be successful here at Dover, I like the fact that it's back to back with Darlington, because at the end of Darlington, you go, oh man, let's sit down, let's relax. I'm glad that's over. Let's look forward to next. Oh, it's Dover. Look, it takes a man. It takes a man to tame Dover. It 100% does. You have to be committed. You have to be controlled. You have to know when to push and when to let it go. And Darlington is just the same, but it's a completely different monster. There's a reason it's the track that's too tough to tame, because you want to be running up against that wall and you can't do that. Here, you got to manage that throttle pressure. You're on and off that throttle, and the car feels stable, and then all of a sudden it doesn't, and your race day is over. So I have avoided Dover, I'll put it that much. It's tricky, and it's bested me too much this week.
I mean, last week, the track too tough to tame. This week, the Monster Mile. If it's got a moniker, if it's got a nickname, as a driver, you have to sit up and take notice and know that there's going to be some tricks of the trade that you're going to have to be aware of during the course of the entirety of the race. Now, the driver I think did not want to see that caution was Travis Daly. He had opened up a pretty good distance between himself and Braxton DeWeese. And remember, Braxton actually has fresher tires, about 10-lap fresher tires than the 15. Daly was looking for his first stage win of the season. Now he's going to have to hold them all off again here for what looks like it's going to be about an 11-lap shootout here to the completion of stage number 1. We're going to have a total of 12 drivers that will come around to take this green flag, all 12 of them on the lead lap. 2 drivers still sit on pit road trying to get some damage repaired and pick up some spots. Braden Carroll and Mike Tellier. So we documented 6 drivers at this point are out of the races. Here we go. Let's see if they can make these 11 laps under green flag conditions. All these drivers out there from anywhere to 28 to 40 lap old tires on this restart.
Yeah, look, I mean, look at them get going once again. Braxton DeWeese, you're right. He come down pit road a fair bit earlier. He didn't take tires. There's no way he took tires. These guys will still be on the same sort of sets of tires. What I'm curious about is, I think if we get another caution here in the next 5 to 10 laps, we're going to have guys coming from the rear end of the field to come down pit road, come and take their normal stage break service and get it out of the way, because that's going to shuffle them right up at the tippy top of the pack. They want to make sure that it's close enough that they don't lose ground, though, on that next restart due to having such more worn tires. But there's a big option for guys, depending upon how this next 5 to 10 laps play out.
My goodness, they were almost 3 wide there for a moment as Daly went up to the 3rd groove. McKinney went to the middle groove and DeWeese down to the bottom. Now it's going to be a battle for the lead between McKinney and Travis Daly as we are less than 10 laps away from the conclusion of this first stage, and McKinney will move to the point. Mention that there's only 12 drivers running right now and all on the lead lap, which means that 2 drivers will not get stage points here at the end of stage 1.
Yeah, a few things to note, though, like, honestly, I feel like McKinney was just biding his time. Even though he was pushing to try and get past Braxton, I think that was all for show. That was literally just him making sure that both lanes were clogged up, that nobody else really had a run, and now he's looked after those tires. You mentioned it. Travis Daly was pushing really, really hard on that last green flag run. He did not want to see that caution. He burned up his tires, and now it's showing. Look at him drop like a 3.
3 wide with Deweese in the middle. Bouchy was on the inside. They settle it out with Deweese taking the 3rd spot, and I was really impressed with Alex Link. He was no lift situation through 3 and 4 a moment ago. He's now going to power around the outside of Blaze McKinney for the top spot. He was actually on pit road under that last caution. Look at the difference fresh tires made.
Yeah, and remember what I was talking about? Come down pit road with that little bit to go before the end of the stage, grab fresh tires, you're going to guarantee yourself a stage win. You're throwing caution to the wind. He's going to run this entire next stage without taking tires. But remember, you throw it back to the last time we broadcast from Kansas, the guy that we were watching, the guy that was making his way through the field all night long was Alex Link. He did it, what, 3-4 times that time? So of course he's going to be able to do it here. He's got this thing planted, he knows what he's doing, he's going to the front, he's going to grab himself a stage win. Ain't no caution going to change this result.
And it'll be the first stage win of the season for Alex Link. He has seen all of his Team SRD teammates all get stage victories this season. He's been the lone man out, and he is about 4 laps away from changing that.
Oh man, look, I think he's a popular driver too. You know, this guy is the kind of guy that constantly puts himself in a tough situation and comes out on top. So, for my liking, he shows a lot of respect to a lot of people. I don't recall him having much contact with a lot of people throughout the season. I mean, the rear end of his race car right now is definitely all beat up, so something's obviously happened to make his night rough once again, but he's got 3.5 seconds. This guy's just running away. He knows what he's doing. We'll leave it in Alex Lynx's hands. He's showing us for a real good rider on this racetrack.
And there's Travis Daly, who led us back to green. He has dropped from the lead now back to 9th. There's Justin Belmonte there trying to take that position away with 2 laps left in this first stage. Travis Daly has to stay ahead of that orange number 4 back there of Dylan Stipe to be able to snag a stage point here. So for the time being, he'll keep the 12 of Belmonte in his rearview mirror as Alex Link will see the proverbial white flag. 1 more lap to go here in stage number 1. Link not only looking for his first stage win, but can he possibly be able to pick up his first race win today?
Yeah, he's got an option. I'm actually just trying to keep my eyes peeled. I think Travis Daly is the guy to watch. He's lost probably about half a second to a second to Dylan Stipe over this last lap. Belmonte got underneath him, straight by him, not even close. So Daly's going to pull it up just in here behind Stipe. I think Stipe's going to call the caution, so of course he's racing with Daly. So yeah, Dylan Stipe was on the caution. So
there is the yellow flag. First caution of the day for a stage end, not for cause. This Alex Link will be the winner. Blaze McKinney will bring it home second. Braxton Deweese, Jeremy Bouchy, and Brandon King. That was your top 5. We're going to talk about Brandon King and Dover in just a moment. Brian Sybry, Derek Schilling, Keenan Massey, Justin Belmonte, and Travis Daly snagging the final stage point. But Alex Link, his first stage win of the season, had to wait 12 races for it to take place, but pulling off that strategy that you called back under that last caution of take the fresh tires, get the track position, and have yourself a stage victory in those very valuable 10 stage points, as well as a playoff point if you manage to make it into the postseason.
The thing I was concerned about with that strategy is it does require some tire management. You've got to push those tires really, really hard to make the places up, 100%. But once you get there, once you get to the lead, and the thing I was very, very cautious about was whether or not Alex Link would really try and back the pace down. And, I mean, he did, to a degree. I'm worried for him over this course of this next stage. He's going to come down, he's going to grab fuel now. His stop is going to be extremely, extremely short, this time by pit road, so he will retain the lead. That much is pretty much a guarantee. So, I don't know, the other drivers around him, he's going to sink like a rock early on, and he's just got to accept that.
Fire mission successful, however, for Alex Link. He is your stage 1 winner. We'll be talking with him momentarily. We do have another driver here at the conclusion of stage 1 that has gone behind the wall. Braden Carroll right now scored in 14th place. We're still waiting to see if Mike Teller gets out there. Teller, of course, had the engine damage with his wreck back 57 laps ago. He would have to spend at least 45 minutes on pit road for them to repair the engine, but if he could get back out there, there's enough laps that he could finish this race up at least in the 13th position. Alex Link, his service is done. Let's see if we can actually talk with our Stage 1 winner and see what his plans are here in terms of tire conservation for this second stage. Hey, Hey, Alex, it's Scott and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
Yes, sir.
All right, well, first off, congratulations on your first stage win on the season, but now we're kind of wondering, I mean, you gave up a lot of time to the drivers here in stage 2 to be able to win that first stage, so being maybe a little bit of a deficit on tires to the competition around you, how do you play this out for the second stage?
Just hopefully ride around, get my car handling how it wants to. Cause I've got a bit of rear damage, so I'm just trying to, adjust the car to help that. But hopefully, just ride around and can stay on the lead lap.
Tell you what, you really don't like giving yourself an easy race, do you? I mean, you throw back to Kansas. How many times do you have to drive through the field there at Kansas? You did a phenomenal job. And again tonight, like you said, you've got that rear damage. You opted for the alternate strategy. I think you've made a good decision. It's a difficult decision, and you've thrown yourself up against the wall again. Man, I'm looking for another big ride through the field. Talk us through what your plan is now for the next stage.
For this stage, ride around, try to stay out the wrecks, keep it clean, set myself up for the last stage. I know, definitely have a good car. Just gotta get around some people. Hopefully, get some good track position at the same time to set myself up for the final stage, and hopefully, get that victory.
All right, so Alex, obviously we've seen already here today that Dover has played havoc with a number of drivers. We've already got 7 of them back in the garage area. What are some of the things you guys are dealing with the most out there that you're having to kind of counter the monster here today at Dover?
Well, depending on how you set up, a lot of people are either wearing loose off of exit or plowing tight. Dirty air is a big factor. Like, I could tell from my first couple laps in stage 1 to when I actually had clean air on fresh tires, it was a big difference. So yeah, it's a struggle out here. The Mr. Miles, Monster Miles, is definitely wreaking havoc on the field.
Certainly is. Well, congratulations once again, Alex, on your first stage win. Best of luck to you here in stage 2. Get back to it.
Thank you.
So he actually came down and topped off the fuel tank, I believe, so he'll be restarting back in 12th place.
I don't think that's a bad move. Now, he knows he's going to be the slowest car that's currently out there. So, for him, just cycling to the back here, he's surrounded by teammates, right? All the SRD guys are running around at the back. They are playing the conservation game. You saw, I mean, Travis Daly is obviously not there with them, but he'll be looking to look after his car as well. There's a few different strategies going to play themselves out. I think this is a smart move in terms of looking after his race car. What he's going to try and do is find a guy to just really attach himself to the rear bumper of and make sure that he doesn't lose the draft.
Blaze McKinney kind of pegged him as the driver who's going to take the win in stage 1, but he finished second. He leads us back to green over teammate Braxton DeWeese in second. Jeremy Boucher going to line up in 3rd place in the battle for 4th. Between Brandon King and Keenan Massey is going to go to the 89 machine. Of course, as mentioned, a lot of these drivers coming off of Darlington last week. Looks like Jeremy Boucher liked his paint scheme so much he decided to run it here again at Dover. Very familiar look there with that Alan Kulwicki Xerox throwback.
I was going to say, you must hate that paint scheme because he runs it here at Dover. He's going to scrape it up against the wall in other cars in due time.
They probably buffed out the Darlington car and brought it here to Dover rather than use a whole new chassis.
I mean, I wouldn't have even wasted money on repainting it after Darlington, to be perfectly honest.
So 12 drivers took the green flag here for stage number 2. All 12 of them currently on the lead lap, and quite a number of former winners amongst them, but I'm looking at a number of guys as well that have an opportunity to maybe pick up their first win of the season here in the Clutch Drop Cup Series. Of course, Blaze McKinney making his debut here tonight, kind of trying to maybe pull a Keenan Massey back at Richmond, but you've also got Brandon King right now holding down 4th place. Dylan Stipe has not been to victory lane since Talladega of last year. He's currently running in the 6th position. Travis Daly's still there in 8th, and you've also got Alex Lincoln, Tim Henry back there in 11th and 12th. So you talked about just staying in there, and you never know what could happen with the race of attrition that Dover is usually always bringing to the table. For some of these guys back here, we could be looking at someone picking up their first checkered flag of the season, and there's been a lot of different winners so far in the first 11 races.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of looking at first winners, I definitely think you might have called it correctly. I definitely, my target would probably be Blaze McKinney. Braxton DeWeese, let's talk about that guy, because that guy's season has been, I think a yo-yo would have been more consistent at this point in time. He's run well. He has definitely had some really, really strong finishes. I think if you're looking at guys to be a potential champion and what they need to do now, my goal for Braxton, he needs to just sort of find that consistency, find that groove where he's running with. I was actually having a look through our YouTube chat, and I did notice the guys in there were talking about Chris DeWeese was talking that Braxton and Blaze have been teammates for a fair while, so I definitely feel like Braxton has been making the most out of that. From my liking, the flashes of pace have been there. I think he still needs to keep reading off of his teammate, because if you're looking at strongest driver in the field, I would definitely put Blaze right up there among the best. Whether he is the best.
Oh, Jeremy Boucher drove it deep on Keenan Massey. He does a half spin. Caution will fly nonetheless. Great save by the 47, but a bit of a dive bomb there into turn 3 in a battle for third that went wrong.
Just having a look back at it, that's an odd one. The drivers are conversing right now in race chat, and I mean, Bushi said, "I'm sorry, man. I wasn't intending to make contact there." And, there was actually a huge gap between the cars. That's just down to netcode, boys. There's nothing you can really do about that. There was a massive gap, and I don't think either of the cars are going to have massive damage either, that is the one benefit of netcode,
Both of them had an entirely different entry into the corner. Looked like Bushi started high and then dove it low. Keenan Massey started pretty much in the middle groove and kind of was letting it ride through the center of the corner. And obviously the closing rate would go advantage 73. And I don't know if he may have just pushed up just a little bit up the track there. But as you said, the netcode coming into play there. A little bit of space between the two. Very fortunate, though. A bit of a wheelman move there by Keenan Massey, because by all rights and purposes, that car probably should have backed up into the outside wall.
Yeah, great save. Like, honestly, the driving from Keenan Massey to keep that thing out of the fence, that's... I'm reminded of, I believe it was Jimmy Johnson here, many, many years ago, and the car control that he displayed to keep his car out of the fence. Very similar. Obviously, the incident wasn't on the corner exit, it was on the corner entry, mid-corner, those sorts of things. Massey shuffles down the track a little bit. Ultimately, when you're looking at the drivers and who's at fault in this one, this is a 50-50. I think both drivers have committed to the incident. Yeah, sure, netcode played a factor, but they were going to make contact even without the netcode. The netcode's... Massey was coming down the track enough, and Bushi just had too much pace that he couldn't get the car to stick on the low line. And the other thing was he wanted to hold Massey a little bit higher in the corner to try and complete the overtake. He wanted to sort of move him up and create a little bit more maneuvering room for himself, which is fair enough. That's what the drivers are ultimately trying to do. So look, there's a couple of different factors that contribute to that one. Ultimately, racing incident, play on, boys. And I think that's what the drivers are trying to say to each other as well.
All right, so I'll give you the Jimmy Johnson save back in 2006, but...
There you go, I'm horrible with years.
But here's the thing. Based on his spin and his save as opposed to Keenan Massey, Johnson's spin was during a qualifying session, a single-car qualifying session. He didn't have 3 or 4 cars breathing down his neck as he was sideways in the corner like Keenan Massey did. So the fact that Keenan Massey was able to gather it back up may have just saved the races of drivers like Brandon King, Justin Belmonte, and company.
Yeah, but it also goes, the drivers that are actually behind Massey, they have a part in that as well, because, you can drive it deep in there, you cause an incident, and you've still got to save it. Yes, that's the first part of everything, but everyone behind him has respected what's going on up ahead, they've allowed for it to happen, they've made sure that they've looked after their stuff. This is what race drivers are made of, right? If you drive it in there as a race car driver, now Daytona is completely and utterly different, and Talladega very, very different. You just want to stay on the throttle there. You want to get by the incident before the cars start bouncing up and down the track. And the drivers are very cognizant of that. Everyone behind slowed it up, made sure they stayed clear of the incident, and because they're race car drivers, they wanted to keep a clean car. That's why they slowed down. It's not because they wanted the place. They definitely wanted the place. They wanted to keep their cars clean. So great job all around.
These drivers here today probably going to be looking towards next week with a little bit of a question mark in their minds. So we will not be able to be bringing you coverage of it, unfortunately, but it'll be taken to the road course of Circuit of the Americas. We'll be back in the booth in 2 weeks' time to bring you the action from Charlotte Motor Speedway. But Going to be interesting to see if these drivers kind of approach Dover here in the closing stages as an opportunity to be able to win at a speedway before taking to COTA. Probably a lot of drivers uncertain of how their performance is going to be there.
Look, COTA's... The thing about COTA, it's this big question mark in everyone's in books. I've driven there. I've driven endurance races there, and look, even in cars that are set up to run endurance races at night, it is horrid. You can't see anything in the middle of the night. You're blind everywhere. These cars are going to struggle. Next gen cars are going to love it. They really, really do. So it's got me excited for next week.
Green flag back in the air, 6th restart of the day as Blaze McKinney leads him down into turn 1, looking almost 3 wide back there for 3rd place, but it'll be double wide between Jeremy Bouchy and the 89 of Brandon King. A driver that stuck it out here we haven't talked much about is that bright red machine currently running in the 7th spot. How about a Daytona winner in the season opener, Derek Schilling? About the best run we've seen out of him since that Daytona victory. Another driver that's found a lot of hard luck down the course of this schedule.
Yeah, look, it's a hard day out. I mean, we've already talked at length about Miles. Miles is hungry, boys. Miles wants to eat. Don't make a mistake, or he'll be eating out on your car for weeks to come. Yeah, look. Time to get in line, time to preserve, time to look after your car. You gotta remember, we're still got another guaranteed yellow yet, right? So, I'm looking at guys like Alex Link right now, and I'm going, that guy's just gotta, he got the stage point, sure, but what's his ultimate goal right now? His ultimate goal is just to make sure he's got a race car to rumble with in that final stage. So, cautions are definitely going to be part and parcel of the remainder of the race. I don't think that any league could be running here, caution-free or with minimal cautions, and Clutch Drop Cup is among the best when it comes to minimizing the caution factors. So, the fact that we've had so many cautions here so far is definitely, I think, part for the course in Dover. There's so many factors to manage, man. I mean, my next question to you, Seth, who do you put your money on for the stage win?
Right now, I think you got to go with that 87, especially if we manage to go green for the remainder of the second stage. I mean, he has been fast. It was basically just tire strategy that lost him the first stage. A great call by Alex Link, but if he had been on the same tire strategy as the 87, no doubt in my mind that Blaze McKinney would have absolutely dominated stage 1 and taken that green and white checkered flag. Now, I was noticing back there, a couple of drivers actually did come to pit road and top off the fuel tank under that last yellow. 4 of them in total. Travis Dowley, who's been able to work his way now up to 7th. Tim Hendry, Dylan Stipe, and Alex Link, who run 10th through 12th. So getting that little bit extra fuel here. I don't know if that's necessarily going to play a factor if these drivers would have to pit before the end of the stage, the completion of lap 40 or not, but just a little something to kind of throw out there just in case we end up seeing some green flag pit stops before the conclusion of stage 2.
Yeah, look, I'm definitely with the last caution. We're just about in range to sort of get to the end of the stage, so I would have been a taker for sure if I was out there. Let's talk about green flag stops. Here's the thing: the risk of a green flag stop happening and you having to be you getting forced into taking it, it's too big. It is 100% too big. Like, I would just be taking the bitter pill to swallow, pitting under this caution, and just taking it, So, look, I mean, it's just so much of a risk. The other risk, though, is getting mired back in traffic, and then you kind of have no choice. You got to be a little bit more aggressive. You got to work those tires harder. You can't look after the car as much as you really want to, especially if you're looking at that stage win. So there's. That's the thing about strategy. We talk about it. The reason I love to talk about it as a high-speed chess game is because that's exactly what it is. And sometimes you gotta swallow some losses so that you can come out on the other end as a winner.
Watching this battle close up at 3rd place, Brandon King losing ground to Jeremy Bouchy, but keep an eye on this 89 of Brandon King because his finishes the last couple of weeks have really picked up. 4 weeks ago, his best finish was 12th, and he did that twice in the last 3 weeks. He has had a finish better than 11th place, a 4th at Richmond, an 11th at Kansas, and a 3rd place last week at Darlington Raceway. Up here right now, inside of the podium, as Bushi going to put the bumper to him maybe there through 3 and 4, but this is a driver out of NSM Racing. We saw his teammate Travis Stalley out in front for a few laps early on, and his other teammate Justin Belmonte has now cracked up into the top 5.
Yeah, and look at the message Bushi's trying to send him right now. He wanted to send him that message last lap because he noticed a weakness. Well, Brandon King opens the door this time by and just says, I like my car looking the way it does. I'm just going to let this one go. And, I mean, admittedly, he does. So, oh, my boy. King, it's so good to see him. He suddenly just turned that corner. And it's such an important part of racing is to know, yeah, look, the season hasn't been that great. But maybe I just got to back it down. Maybe I've just got to focus on a couple of specific events. There's been talk in the NASCAR hierarchy about the lower teams focusing on grabbing that one win at a track that normally they put all their time, all their R&D, and all their effort into winning things. Look at McDowell winning at Darlington, at Daytona, and then nearly getting back to another win at Talladega. He had another great run there. They put all of their time, all their effort, and all their focus into those races because they know they're so strong at them. If you want to guarantee yourself in a playoff, sometimes that's what you got to do, and I think Brandon King might have targeted the back end of this season.
And this is the time to get a season turned around as well. After today, there's going to be 13 races left in the regular season. So we're theoretically halfway through the regular season before the 16 drivers are determined for the playoffs. And with the number of different winners we've had this season, spots in the playoffs are quickly being taken. So if you're going to snag there'll be maybe about 4, 5, 6 spots available maybe for drivers to point their way in if they don't find victory lane. If you're Brandon King, you want one of those spots. Now is the time to get the season turned around, work your way up through the points. He's 8th in the overall standings right now, and then just maintain that spot. So if you are not able to capture a checkered flag by the time we reach the end of the regular season, you're at least going to be able to point your way into the championship battle.
Yeah, look, I mean, you have a look at the racing that we've had and the winners that we've had. There's been a fair few of them, and there's also been a fair few double winners. And then you have a look at the guys that are in there. You got Chicano that's in there. You got Massey that's in there. If at the start of the season you said, would those guys be fighting for a playoff spot? I would have said no. I, honest to God, would have told you no after the first few races of the season. I would have said these guys are no hopes. They're going to be outsides. They're going to have to point their way in, a la Dylan Stipe last season. But they found their performance. They found their speed. It is when you talk about this league, it is such a difficult league to crack into and perform well at. You cannot just show up. This kind of a league, you have to practice. You have to put the time, the hours, and the effort in. You can't. There's a term that one of my friends uses. You can't pleb it, which is whereby you show up on the night, you grab a setup at the internet, and you go for it, and you win the thing. That's just never going to happen with this league. And I think a fair few guys have shown that. And right now, the guy that I'm actually most impressed with is actually Brandon King. How he's managing his car. He's got an alien car. He's not as good on tires as he wants to be right now. The car's not where he wants it to be, and he's recognizing that. He's getting out of the way of the other guys. He wants to look after his car. He's doing a great job.
Just gave up a position to Justin Belmonte, moving him up to 4th place. And usually we end up having, in races of attrition, a driver that may be sitting on pit road for a long period of time, several positions back, drivers that go to the garage area, and then they come back out on the track to pick up those spots. That driver today is Mike Tellier. He was 19th when he came back on the track. He's 73 laps down, but he is slowly picking up positions. He just passed Cody Terry. He just passed Jacob Grant. He's up to 15th, and he's about 20 laps away from moving by Braden Carroll and Alonso Chicano. So what could have been a 19th place finish here tonight right now looks like it could translate at least to 13th place, and we're not even halfway through this race, so it could by the end of the night be a top 10.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, there's nothing saying that some of the strongest contenders out there aren't going to just all of a sudden just have a massive failure. Look, it's something that we don't talk about very often at all, is drivers having a hardware failure. I was actually broadcasting an Australian League race the other night, and one of the leaders coming to, I think it was actually on the last lap, had his hard drive fail in the middle of the race with 2 corners to go. He was running in the top 3. He didn't finish. So that's something that comes into these races. There was a follow-up race after that he couldn't even take to the grid for. Look, you talk about mechanical failures. Yeah, you can have a mechanical failure. iRacing doesn't allow for that, and there's a reason for it. It's because hard drives, motherboards, CPUs, graphics cards, all of these things can fail. They don't need to factor this stuff in.
Blaze McKinney continues to pace the field here today at Dover. 150 laps to go as lap 111 is completed here at the Monster Mile. We're going to step aside for a quick commercial break. Stage 2 completion coming up in just about 30 laps or so. We're going to step aside. You won't miss a thing, though, as we're going to go FRN side by side here for the Clutch Drop Cup Series.
Welcome, race fans. This is Paul Page, the voice of IndyCars. And today we're excited to present another IndyCar event brought to you by the Dark Horse IndyCar Series. From the Unzers to Mears, Foyt, and Andretti, now it's Corley, Peterson, Davies, Gardner, and Teague. You can expect high speeds, incredible wheel-to-wheel action, and intense drama that you can only get in an IndyCar. So sit back and enjoy your favorite drivers from all over the world take the track. Dark Horse IndyCar drivers, start your engine. Welcome, race fans. This is Paul Page, the voice of IndyCars. And today we're excited to present another IndyCar event brought to you by the Dark Horse IndyCar Series. From the Unzers to Mears, Foyt, and Andretti, now it's Corley, Peterson, Davies, Gardner, and Teague. You can expect high speeds, incredible wheel-to-wheel action, and intense drama that you can only get in an IndyCar. So sit back and enjoy your favorite drivers from all over the world take the track. Dark Horse IndyCar drivers, start your engine. Welcome, race fans. This is Paul Page, the voice of IndyCars. And today we're excited to present another IndyCar event brought to you by the Dark Horse IndyCar Series. From the Unzers to Mears, Foyt, and Andretti, now it's Corley, Peterson, Davies, Gardner, and Teague. You can expect high speeds, incredible wheel-to-wheel action, and intense drama that you can only get in an IndyCar. So sit back and enjoy your favorite drivers from all over the world take the track. Dark Horse IndyCar drivers, start your engine.
Welcome back here to race number 12 of the Clutch Drop Cup Series at Dover International Speedway. Lap 120 was just put on the board and completed by race leader Blaze McKinney. We are about 20 laps out from the completion of stage 2, and a little bit of a near moment there just before we came back as Dylan Stipe got put a lap down, had a little wiggle in front of the 87, and also the 73 of Jeremy Bouchy 7 laps ago came down pit lane, took on a set of tires. That makes me wonder here, Scott, if these drivers can make it to the conclusion of the stage or not.
Like, ones that have pitted can. The ones that have pitted definitely can. I'm actually interested. This is a big play by Bouchy. He's what, two laps down now? So he's gonna get motoring, but he's gonna catch these guys at an absolute rate of knots. Things that I'm looking at. Oh, well, there goes Alex Link as well, a lap down. So he's just going to be just in front of Dylan Stipe. So he's ailing. Look, best he can possibly do. There's another car actually on pit road right now. Was that Belmonte? Yeah, Belmonte's on pit road. Brandon King's on pit road.
And the 47 of Keenan Massey.
Well, isn't this a story set to tell itself out? Remember, you've got Travis Daly, who took an extra stop at 15 laps into the stage. Travis is on the limit, but he can make it, by my math.
Yeah, he pitted about 15 laps earlier than the other drivers that are out there on the racetrack right now. And that would put him right now, based on not saving, that would put him at, what, lap 139, I think, which is about a half lap short of making it to 140. So if he saved a little bit, he could be able to make it.
You clutch it, you make it, you make yourself make it, because, like, the difference that is going to exist between not taking that stop and taking that stop, he's going to trap a whole bunch of cars potentially a lap down. Potentially.
Yeah.
So if I'm coming to pit road about now, which a lot of these guys are, because we've got McKinney, we've got Cyber, both are coming to pit lane. These guys, for my liking, have to take tires. The reason they have to take tires is they have to get themselves back on the lead lap. This is trouble. If they do not get themselves back on the lead lap, they're done. Their nights might end.
Well, they have to at least get themselves to one lap down. They could then potentially take the wave around when drivers that stay out here for the completion of Stage 2 come to pit lane. But there are some drivers right now that are being scored -2. Belmonte, Brandon King, and Keenan Massey were amongst them. Now that the race leader Braxton DeWeese has come to pit road, they're now -1. So if you're looking at these guys like Travis Daly and Tim Hendry, if they're able to stretch it the rest of the way, they'll have just about everybody trapped off the lead lap. Those drivers have to take a wave around, which means, guess what? Travis Daly, Tim Hendry, you're 1-2 at the end of the stage. You'd be 1-2 to begin Stage 3, because everybody taking a wave around would have to restart behind you.
Yeah, 100%. Taking a wave around also means they're not going to be able to pit stop.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
if you're stuck at that lap down spot right now, there's a couple things I'm doing. First and foremost, I'm filling the car up. I'm taking that longer stop. Yeah, it's going to be an extra couple seconds. Yeah, that's going to hurt. And it is gonna hurt. But I'm taking it. I don't take the risk. I want to make sure that if I have to take the wave around, I'm giving myself an option. The other thing that means is that you have to take tires. These guys have to go absolutely bananas. And I guess what? There's a monster on the outside of the track. He loves bananas racing.
Oh, man, Miles the Monster, he's been hungry here today. He's waiting for dessert, though, as he's already had the appetizer and maybe a salad at this point in time. May not have even had the main course just yet, as you've got four drivers.
He's licking his lips.
He is definitely licking his lips. You got four drivers that elected to stay out under the last caution. They have all still stayed out up to this point. They look like they've got the
Alex Link has to come to pit road.
Oh, boy. Now, that's huge, because Link, he was about 2 laps short. Oh, he's got the pit wall. He got the pit wall with the right front of his machine. That's going to damage his race car a ton, slow this pit stop down even more. Big problems for our Stage 1 winner.
You can just tell, he's tight as anything. He's got that wheel kinked so hard to the left. He is trying to get the car to stop. He's trying to get the car to turn. It does not want to do anything that he's telling it to. Oh, man, we talked about Alex Link. He puts himself in rough situations and he drives through them. This one is probably a little bit too much to ask of him, though. I'd say, in terms of top finishes, that is probably his night done.
Could very well be halfway through the race, won the first stage, but even that damage to repair, the amount of time they're going to have to take on that car is going to more than likely have him multiple laps down. With the smaller field we have, we may not get enough cautions down the home stretch to get him back on the lead lap. Right now we've got half the field 1 lap down as Tim Hendry continues to show the way. We talked about the possibility last stage of Travis Daly picking up his first stage win. Well, Tim Hendry leading this race is trying to get his first stage win as well of the season as he looks back to Travis Daly about 3-4 car lengths back. Right now, Hendry, Daly, Stipe trying to stretch the fuel for another 6.5 laps here to the completion of stage number 2.
You want to know what's really, really crushing for me? Alex Wink goes from winning the last stage to the last car running in our lead group. The next car behind him is 71 laps further behind, which is Mike Tellier. He's done a great job. Tellier's been back out there on the road. He's up to 13, so he's grabbed about as many spots as he's potentially going to grab. The only reason to circulate now for Tellier is you want to make sure that if somebody else gets back into that garage, you can still take some points away from them and take them off the table. And again, we'll get back to the way that Tellier's looking at things. The reason that Tellier's out there is because he wants to point his way into this playoff, right? And you don't point your way into the playoff except by doing drives like what he's doing tonight. It is very, very important that he got back out on that racetrack, and he did so, and look at the result.
Travis Daly couldn't make it on fuel, and I'm keeping an eye on this 73 of Jeremy Boucher. Remember, he came to pit road during our commercial break. He's now worked his way up to 30. He's only 4 seconds behind the top two, and he has been running anywhere from a full second to 1.2 seconds faster than the top two.
Henry,
I don't know if he's got
Henry is on the
time.
clutch. Henry is on the clutch for like a half of the corners.
I think
He's
Boucher
picking it up
could
going
catch
over
him.
the humps on entry, and he's just right in the clutch.
I think right now Boucher could possibly snipe this stage win. He is full go. Hendry and Stipe are trying to save, and the gap continues to close up. It's now 3 seconds between Boucher up to Tim Hendry.
Oh my word. I don't know. I don't know if he can make it. We've got, what, 2 laps to go to the end of this stage?
2.5. And remember the caution doesn't come out until the leader has taken the end of stage 1, and it comes out on the back straightaway. So that's about another half lap you're asking that driver to save fuel to be able to make it back around to pit road.
Stipe's less than half a second behind here. He is losing so much time. That last lap around, he lost 1.4 seconds to Stipe. Stipe pit 1 extra lap later. Stipe's going to take this stage!
Is he going to, though, or what about that 73? There he is, coming off of turn number 2. Jeremy Boucher with a big head of steam. Still 2 laps remaining here. White
Henry's
flag
out.
is
Henry's out of fuel.
And here comes the 73. Jeremy Boucher goes around for second. Now he'll look to get Stipe for this stage win. Does Stipe have enough fuel and enough tires to hold him off? Oh, was there contact possibly there?
Fuel.
Dylan
Oh
Stipe,
my word!
he's out of fuel. He's got to try and coast it around to the start-finish line. Jeremy Boucher, who was the first car a lap down because he came to pit road, he's going to cross the start-finish line and win the stage. But look at the right front damage on that 73. I think he and Dylan Stipe made a little bit of contact on the back straightaway when Boucher made the pass for the lead.
So that's unlucky. That is so unlucky. Stipe's actually giving himself an... Yeah, they made contact, but the damage was actually already there on Boucher. If anything, it's gotten slightly worse. Oh, okay, it's gotten a lot worse than I realized. There was some damage to the right-hand front corner of that, but... Look, if that caution in the midpoint of that, in the early stages of that stage, hadn't come out, we definitely have gotten to the point whereby everyone would have had to make a green flag stop. That caution comes out 1 or 2 laps later, then we're looking at Tim Hendry, we're looking at, how many cars from that caution would have made it to the end of the stage? Are you kidding me?
Can you imagine if that was the finish? That's just stage 2. I mean, what kind of a fuel strategy race are we in for this third and final stage? Right now, according to what I'm seeing, it looks like Boucher was the winner of the stage, Blaze McKinney in second, Dylan Stipe did manage to coast around to the start-finish line to get third, Braxton DeWeese was fourth, Brian Cybery in fifth, Justin Belmonte sixth, I believe Tim Hendry crossed the start-finish line in seventh, and then Keenan Massey, Derek Schilling. They were the completion of the top 10 here under our second stage, but what a strategy there by Jeremy Boucher to be able to pick up what I believe is his his fourth stage win on the season. So another playoff point to the 2-time winner.
My word, what a stage. Man, the only way I'd be more excited if that was for the race win. What more can you ask for? What more can you ask for? You can't ask for more from a motor race. That is absolutely everything. I tell you what, though, Tim Hendry's going to grab a fair few spots potentially in this pit lane cycle. Maybe, maybe not.
Not certain. Brandon King actually stayed out to lead a lap. Now he's coming down pit road. Henry's coming down pit lane. Dylan Stipe. There's going to be a lot to unravel here because I'm not sure who the lucky dog was. I'm not certain if the 72 and the 4, who both had to coast back to pit road, if they fell a lap down and will remain a lap down or not when we go back green.
Alex Link's going to grab a wave around, which is going to move him back up to 1 lap down. Tim Hendry's at 1 lap down. Keenan Massey, Dylan Stipe, Derek Schilling are all to 1 lap down. Is Alex Link going to take the wave around here? He's shaping up like he wants to pit. If he pits,
he's on pit road.
Travis Daly is to 3 laps down.
I'm not certain if maybe Brandon King might have been the lucky dog under this caution. I don't know. He's on pit road now. We'll try and figure all this out. Right now, we've got 6 drivers scored on the lead lap, 4 drivers minus 1. Alex Link is 2 laps down in 11th, and Travis Daly is 3 laps down in 12th position after all the fallout of that chaotic last couple of laps of stage number 2. But let's see if we can really quickly dial up our stage 2 winner, Jeremy Boucher, with his 4th stage win on the season.
Okay, so...
Hey, Jeremy, it's Scott and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
Yeah, buddy, I got you.
Well, man, you pulled off some strategy there. I noticed you ended up coming to pit road. I was kind of wondering what was going on there. You fell 2 laps down, and then by the end of stage 2, you're coming around to take the checkered flag. So with the strategy we saw play out here in just this 70-lap shootout, what can we expect for stage 3?
I'm not sure. I took tires there in the middle of the stage. This way I could try some adjustments and see how they did. And they did bad. Luckily, I don't think anybody else took tires there, so I was able to run my way around. So I'm 1 set short than everybody, and I'm right back where I started on adjustments. So I don't have a lick of clue.
Look, Dover's, it has been chaos out there tonight, to put it lightly and friendly, and it is certainly, we're still a long way to go to the end of the race. What's the strategy here for the final stage? Is it continue more of the same, keep it clean, or is it you're going to push and punch it out and see what happens now that you're back to the starting position?
Yeah, I'm going to go hard here at the beginning and figure out what adjustment the car needs and try and make that first stop maybe a little bit early if I can.
All right, well, we heard the spotter telling you're going green. Best of luck to you, Jeremy.
Thank you, guys.
His teammate Brian Sybry is going to lead them back to the green flag. 3rd and final stage at Dover is underway. Belmonte, last week's winner, lines up 2nd. Then Boucher, Blaze McKinney, and Braxton DeWeese were the top 5 to get us back to racing here at the Monster Mile.
There's 6 cars on the lead lap. I did go back. I did do some research. You are 100% right. Brandon King got the lucky dog, so he got the free pass. He's back on the lead lap once again, but that still leaves us with only 6 cars. I tell you what, then there's another pack of, what do we got? 1, 2, 3, 4 cars, 1 lap down, which ranges from Derek Schilling, Keenan Massey, Dylan Stipe, Tim Hendry. Alex Link's at 2 laps down. Travis Daly's 3 laps down.
Oh, Derek Schilling and Keenan Massey get together on the back straightaway. No,
and that will mean that
there's the
Massey won't get the free pass either, so that'll go to Stipe. So Stipe's now back on the lead lap.
Schilling and Massey that got together were battling for the free pass position at the time. So 8th caution of the day. That will tie the number of cautions from last year's Dover race. And this one was a battle for what was at the time 7th place, first car 1 lap down. And to your point, the guy that was the 3rd car 1 lap down gets through it, and Dylan Stipe, and he's going to inherit the lucky dog to get back in the lead lap. We'll go back here to the backstretch and see just exactly what happened.
My word.
Maybe a little contact there to the back bumper of the 69, courtesy of Massey. I'm not certain there with that angle. Schilling definitely got out of shape and then spun down the track and nowhere for the 47 to go. Couldn't go any lower on the track without slamming it into that inside wall. We'll see if there was contact off of turn 2 with maybe another camera shot.
I think there was. Just the way that their cars reacted, I honestly believe that there was. Because Schilling wouldn't have shot up the track without that little bit of a touch. I think Keenan Massey's actually not gotten away too bad out of this. It doesn't look like he's actually got steering damage, so it's just going to be engine damage.
Kind of broadsided it there on both the left and right side of the machine. You saw there definitely contact into the left rear quarter panel. Massey into Schilling. And as mentioned, that was a battle for the free pass position. And we're now going to go on board with Dylan Stipe, who says, hey, look at this. All of a sudden, he's the driver that, when the caution comes out, is the first driver 1 lap down. And I believe one of the first drivers that got put a lap down on that last green flag run coming to the completion of stage 2. He actually ends up now being back on the same lap as the leaders in 7th place.
Oh, that reminds me. We actually have an update. So, before the break, we actually said we weren't actually going to be broadcasting from COTA. This just in, there's been an update during the race. We're coming to you live from COTA next week. I'm looking forward to that.
That should be a good one. I believe it's going to be the first broadcast that Flatout Racing Network has done this season at a road course. That's going to be a lot of fun. The road course, of course.
The road course. I mean,
the Circuit of Americas. It's not just Circuit of Americas, it's the Circuit of Americas.
I mean, you've got experience there. We were asking questions, chatting about COTA.
It's not a good experience. It's experience, but not a good experience.
Look, I mean, I was talking to you earlier about it. You know, I've had headlights there at night, and it's a death trap in the dark. Look, these cars, I think it is a death trap. It is going to take, I think, some of the most... We're seeing tonight, you know, the levels of car control that a whole bunch of these guys have got. COTA is going to take car control to the next level. Fuel saving, tire management, because it's about tire management. You can run flat out if you want, but your tires are going to be dead after one lap sort of thing. You're going to be right towards your paces. You're going to fall off the cliff if you do that. The alternate strategy is that, you look after those tires a little bit. Instead of them falling off the cliff after 1 lap, you might get 2, you might get 3 out of the tires before they start falling off a cliff. So, look, a lot of these guys are going to get out of the car tonight, finish up at Dover and be like, man, I'm glad to see the back end of that. We were talking about that with Darlington, and then they're coming to Dover. Next week's COTA. Man, it just does not go any easier for these guys. What is it with NASCAR slapping 3 impossible asks of the driver back to back to back on the schedule?
I think we'll call it the Clutch Drop Cup Series trifecta of pain, because these drivers, it just doesn't get better when you head to the following week.
Mate, look, I mean, about the only other thing that would add to the trifecta of pain is to take it to the trifecta of triangles or something. Trifecta of triangles of pain, 3 weeks at Pocono. So let's hope these guys are feeling a little bit better by the time we get to Pocono.
Pocono, and then the following week we run Pocono in reverse instead of going left.
Yeah, there
right.
you go.
Perfect. So Jeremy Boucher is going to get us back under the green flag. Justin Belmonte will line up to his outside in second. Brian Seabury, or make that Cybery rather, and Braxton DeWeese with Brandon King completing the top 5. Blaze McKinney, our pole sitter, now mired back in 6th. That's about the furthest back he's run all day. And then the driver that got the lucky dog, Dylan Stipe, he has to start at the very tail end of the field behind the lead lap and lap down machines. We've got now 12 drivers taking the green flag here for this restart. Mike Tellier about to maybe pick up another spot because Keenan Massey just moments ago brought the 47 into the garage area. So 8 drivers in total will not reach the conclusion of this race at this point in time.
Have a look at the guys that are running around towards the back end of the pack as well. I'm looking at Travis Daly and Dylan Stipe. Obviously, Dylan's just taken that free pass. Dylan elected to come down pit road under that caution. He took his lucky dog, got his free pass, got back on the lead lap. And drivers who are already going to be at the rear end of the field, remember, he's going to have an end line penalty for receiving that lucky dog. That is, it's both, right? You get the free pass, you get back on the lead lap, you're going to start behind the lap cars. Well, why not take that advantage and put it in the fuel tank? That means your next stop is a lot shorter. So Dylan Stipe using that big old noggin of his to punch out a few extra points.
Yeah, Dylan Stipe, as well as Derek Schilling, Alex Link, and Travis Daly. Mike Tellier also all topped off the fuel tank before we went back green. Battle up here at the front. 3-way battle for the top spot. Jeremy Boucher, Braxton DeWeese, and Blaze McKinney throw a blanket over those 3 as they are nose to tail at the start-finish line.
a handkerchief over these three. A blanket? You don't need something that big. Man, they're at it. And, I mean, we were talking about it earlier. Blaze and Braxton have run alongside each other and been teammates, been friends for a fair while. So, look, these guys have got the benefit of doing that. Bushi is just under an assault. Look, here's the thing. If Braxton doesn't get you, then Blaze will. So he's got a tough night ahead of him.
And of course, these drivers all a little bit off sequence with each other, dependent on when they came to pit road 2 cautions ago at the stage completion. Jeremy Boucher, as we talked with him, our stage 2 winner, right now at a tire disadvantage. He has 1 less set of tires available to him on pit road than the rest of the competition. And right now he has 2 lap older tires than the 2 behind him.
Oh man, don't say that. There goes his advantage. I was just gonna say, don't say it too loud. Let's keep that on the down low, because I'm pretty sure that is information right now that Braxton DeWeese would love to have. Because if that's the case, if he knows about that, he's just gonna sit there. He's just gonna keep knocking on the door. Hey buddy, I'm here. Hey buddy, I'm here. I know your tires are gonna fall off your car soon. Let's keep pushing those things for us. Yeah, man, I'm right here. I'm right here. You aware that I'm here, Boucher? You know that I'm here. I'm coming for you, baby.
And of course, for Jeremy Boucher, he's a 2-time winner, one of 2 multi-time winners on the season, the other one being Oscar Jensen. Braxton DeWeese getting that win a few weeks ago at Richmond would love to also be a multi-time winner. I mean, a lot of luxury for some of these guys that already have a win or 2 in the bank, because now they're just out there trying to pick up wins, rack up those playoff points.
Yeah, that's it. They're just trying to make sure that, you know, they're confirmed as in for everything at the back end of the season. So yeah, that's it. I mean, you want to build that run at the playoffs. The start to the playoffs, yeah, it hasn't started yet, but the run to the playoffs, the build-off has. Get yourself those playoff points. Get yourself that little bit of it. Look how much these teams and drivers fight for any little advantage out on the racetrack. Anytime they can chalk one of those things up in the points column as well. So that'll be what Alex Link was looking for earlier on tonight.
Look at the diversity up here inside of the top 6 as well in terms of team cars. You got 2 cars out of SRD, 2 cars out of NSM, and 2 cars out of High 5 Racing. So a very democratic top 6, if you will. Different drivers out of different teams, and having a teammate there to maybe be able to lean on of, hey, what's your car doing that's allowing you to maybe be able to rotate the center, get back to the throttle sooner that I can do to my car? And we're starting to see here, especially in the top 6, that there has been some information passed on, and they're all running right now in close proximity. Your top 6, less than a 1.5 second separation.
Yeah, really, really good run as well. Let's not talk about, you know, right, we were talking about it earlier, there was only 6 cars in the lead lap. Well, here they are. The difference between them all is DeWeese is going to send it to the low side here. He wants the lead. Boucher's tires might have said they're lost, and they're on their way out. But Braxton DeWeese says, all right, baby, my turn to lead a few laps.
So DeWeese going to move to the point. Boucher going to drop back into the clutches of Blaze McKinney for that 2nd position. One thing I've been noticing, little by little, we've had some cloud cover in certain portions of the racetrack. I saw a little bit of cloud cover over in 1 and 2 about maybe 5-10 minutes ago. And, oh, Boucher! Oh, no, he's going to get into Blaze McKinney. McKinney is going to keep it straight, I do believe. No, he spins it down to the inside. No caution yet. Facing the wrong way on the inside line, and there's the caution.
Oh, I was hoping against all hope that Blaze McKinney was not going to find the front end of his car facing into that wall and then slapping it. He did just slightly. So there is going to be a tiny, tiny amount of front end damage and a little bit of loss of straight line speed for him. So, look, I mean, a guy that showed up for the first time to a league, he's running right up there, he's inside the top 3, he's looking to make his move into the top 2, he's looking to run with his teammate, potentially grab a win and point himself into the playoffs. Oh, that's unlucky. That is so unlucky. And I mean, we were talking about Jimmy Johnson earlier in the night and his save during a qualifying race. Right there, that just shows you how good that save was, because you can't underestimate Blaze McKinney as a driver and as a guy who is skilled in handling this thing, and even he can't keep it out of the fence there.
Not a whole heck of a lot of space between the inside wall and that outside wall to be able to maneuver a car that is completely out of control. And we saw that camera shot there off of turn 2. Jeremy Bouchy, those tires apparently just starting to go away, drifted up the hill, hit the outside wall, and when that car shot back to the left, unfortunately, it found the right rear quarter panel of Blaze McKinney. McKinney spins it down to that inside wall, as you talked about. An impressive debut so far here tonight for that 87 of Blaze McKinney. Started on the pole position, finished second in both of the stages, has not really fallen outside of the top 5 all night long, but you have to wonder now just how competitive that car is going to be with that left front we see he's sustained right there.
It's tough. You actually can't. It is without being able to sit down and confirmedly say how much horsepower he's lost and how much that translates into lap time. It is so difficult. Yeah, look, he's going to be on the short run pace. He is definitely going to be at a massive disadvantage. The other thing to consider as well, we're going to get another car back on the lead lap, so we're going to be back up to 8 cars on the lead lap here as well, which that influences where he's potentially going to finish tonight. So there's a few things to sort of concern. That I'm concerned about in terms of where he's going to finish for Blaze McKinney. There are ways to get around it. And at Dover, you've got the option of being able to run the car deeper into the corner. I mean, if you're not going quite as fast all the way into the corner, you can look after that thing a little bit better. You might be able to do it. You are going to be a little bit more fuel hungry to get the pace out of the car, and you're definitely not going to have short run pace. But if he can manage it well, he may not necessarily lose anything over a longer run. That shorter run is where I'm concerned for him, though.
That driver that you mentioned that's getting back in the lead lap is our Daytona winner, Derek Schilling. So 8 drivers will be back on the lead lap here for this restart of the 12 drivers that are still out there. Mike Tellier in the 97 has worked his way up to 13th. He is about 50 laps away from picking up another spot on Keenan Massey to move up to 12th place. And as you can see, we've still got about 90. We're closing in on 80 laps to go here in a couple of laps time. So he's definitely got the time to be able to pick up that 12th position, just trying to get as many points as possible after what's been a very tough early start to his day here at Dover International Raceway. So Braxton DeWeese came down pit road, as did the rest of the drivers on the lead lap. It looks like all of them elected to take on a set of tires here. So we'll see the lap times pick back up. And we saw how aggressive Braxton DeWeese and Blaze McKinney were with Jeremy Bouchy on that last restart. That was with older tires. I think we're going to see another aggressive restart here as DeWeese, Belmonte, Brandon King, Brian Seibert. That's going to be your first 2 rows when they double it up.
It's going to be interesting. DeWeese has definitely had pace. He's running very, very well tonight. And when you have a look at what Blaze McKinney's been able to extract out of the car in terms of pace, look, my money suddenly shifts across to DeWeese. I think DeWeese has probably got what it takes to win here. There's a couple of things to note in terms of pit lane strategy now. If you talk about, well, let's have a look at the last stage. 50 to 55 laps is basically the fuel stint on these cars. We are underneath 100 to go, so you can say that if we were to go green to the end, there is 1 green flag stop to go. What lap number are they trying to get to from here? Their target is 205. If they can get to 205, and indeed if they can get beyond 205, they're good to home. Ultimately, what is my target if I was out there right now? I'm targeting 210, 211. That's when I want to be coming down pit lane. That's when I want to go, all right, I've run this car as long as I possibly can. There's no chance of a yellow coming out. I need to dive down a pit lane. Lights are off on the safety car. We're going to be going green this time by, so there's a lot for these drivers to think about now.
9 cautions so far here today, exceeding the amount of cautions they had in last year's Dover race. 1 driver actually elected to take the wave around, so there will be 9 drivers on the lead lap when we go back green. Tim Hendry on 25-lap old tires elected still to take that wave around, and will start tail end of the field here as Braxton DeWeese leads us back to the green, up through the gears nicely, and opens up quite a bit of distance back to now a 3-4-way battle for second place.
Couple things to consider here for Hendry is that he is dead in the water in terms of fuel and tire strategy. His goal right now: conserve, save fuel, stretch this as long as you possibly can. He's ultimately, I think he's a true stop at home, which puts him at least 1 lap down, and he's going to be offset in terms of strategy. I think the best possible thing he could do is to get himself back on the lead lap, but it's going to be a rough night again from here to home. So long night ahead, and there's a couple of drivers going to be in that sort of a position. Alex Link is now the only car 1 lap down, so he's potentially going to get his lap back. We're back to 9 cars on the lead lap, ladies and gentlemen. We got a race on our hands.
All right, so I got a question for you concerning Hendry. I mean, he was going to be the first car 1 lap down if he had not taken the wave around, still in the 9th position. Right now, it's looking like for these drivers, the furthest they would finish here today with the number of laps left would be 11th place. Based on the fact that if the strategy doesn't work out for Tim Hendry, he's only going to lose 2 positions and there's no more stage points on the line, does that make that wave around decision even easier?
Yeah, I think it does. I mean, here's the thing, right? Another caution comes, he's safe, right? He definitely gets
Right.
the pit, and he'll be the fastest car on track.
Oh, we nearly have it right there. Blaze McKinney and Jeremy Bushi got together off of turn 2. Bushi managed to save it.
Oh, Schilling! Schilling nearly come back through and got into Dylan Stipe!
Well, they're trying to get Tim Hendry the caution he needs.
And the other thing to consider is, whilst ever these cars are slowing themselves down, this plays itself into Tim Hendry's hand. Because if the leader now comes around, there's more cars that he's running with, and there's a lot more work for them to get around him. If Derek Schilling sits in behind him, which I have a feeling Schilling's down on pace, Schilling is really struggling to keep that car out on track as we stand. This race, I don't think we've seen our last caution. I think you give us another 40 laps, maybe we'll get a green flag run to home, but I don't think we're quite there yet.
Well, that's a big if, we have seen our last caution. Stage 2 gave us an idea of just how far these drivers really can stretch it on fuel, with several drivers hitting pit lane before the conclusion of our second stage. About 60 to 65 laps is about how far they can make it, depending on how much saving they do on a green flag run, which means that for Tim Hendry, right now, 33 laps out there, albeit a few pace laps included, he's going to be about maybe 35 laps away from when he'd have to make a green flag pit stop here.
But if he gets to 35 laps in, guess what the magic number is for that one? 210. So he's in the range to make it home. So he's actually played himself potentially back into caution. He is running the clutch again. Remember what I said the last time that we're in those stages? Back into stage 2, how much clutch he was using? He's using more.
Well, you mentioned earlier that you aren't exactly a fan of Dover.
He's got a lane this time.
And so this is interesting. Coming to pit road, way outside of what we kind of projected for him. I'm kind of
so what he's doing here, there's a couple things to consider. He's coming down right now. This is for fresh tires. He needs to drive himself back to the front of this field. He's got enough of a tire deficit over the leaders now that there will be a pace fall off, and he will start buying himself back into the equation, but it's going to be very, very tight between himself and Braxton DeWeese in terms of lap speed right now. So there's a few things. I don't think Hendry's out of this equation right now. He's in 10th. He's going to fall to 11th. But I don't think that he is out of the equation. Keep your eyes on him for the remainder of the night.
The thing I'm wondering, though, is should he have waited just a little bit longer?
I think he should have.
Wait until the fall off for these race leaders is even more so than it is now, because then, you're going to be able to gain maybe, like as we saw during that round of green flag pit stops at the end of stage 2, you can gain anywhere from a second to a second and a half. Right now, with him coming to pit road and the lap times I'm seeing from our race leaders, I think he'd be lucky if he's able to gain 6, maybe 7/10 a lap. So the gain would have been much more, I think, if he had stayed out maybe another 10, 15 laps before electing to get those fresh tires.
Potentially, he may go into a fuel conservation mode again now, try and get a heat cycle on these tires. So the issue for him was, now he's come back out, he's only 1.5 seconds ahead of the leaders. So that would have been 3 laps down that if he would. So I actually think Tim Hendry's a smarter cookie than the rest of us up here in the booth. Let's get Tim Hendry in as our stats guy for next week and pitch strategy analyst. I think he's played this perfectly, and that gap to the leader right now, that's why.
Looking here at a battle that might be closing up for third place between Brandon King and Brian Sybry, and you'll notice the cloud cover has come in again, and it has covered the entire racetrack, and more so at a concrete track than at an asphalt track. Even just a couple minutes of cloud cover can really change the difference of how a car is going to handle out there. It actually drastically changes the track temperature quicker than it would at an asphalt covered track. So drivers that might have had a very good handling race car just moments ago now might be dealing with an entirely different situation when they head into these corners.
Have a look at Tim Hendry. He just had to dice his way through 2 cars at the same time. He was dealing with the 97 of Tellier and the 69 of Derek. Sorry, not the 97. It was the 15 of Travis Daly. So he's back up to 10 spot, and the 69 of Schilling. So he's definitely dealing with some traffic right now. But for my liking, he's going to be one of the faster cars out there. I mean, he's dealt with the traffic nice and quickly and got on with his race.
Last time by, on those fresh tires, he ran a 22.9. This time by, he's running a 23.0. Compare that to the 23.1 run by Braxton DeWeese. So he's gaining about a tenth, but as you mentioned, it doesn't seem like right now he's in full go mode. He's kind of in fuel conservation mode, and that's actually hurting him rather than helping him, because he might go a third lap down here.
Well, he's in the middle because he's dealing with traffic, so he's trying to make sure that he's saving some tire, he's saving some fuel whilst he's dealing with traffic, because it's not going to be easy. These guys aren't just going to, immediately pull over and let him back onto the lead lap. Yeah, sure, they're going to do their best to try and allow him the best opportunity to do that, but he's still got issues that he's trying to deal with and trying to work around. Right now that he's out of this traffic and he's off into the clear, we might actually see a much better representation of the difference in pace between Braxton DeWeese and himself. And immediately, the lap times I'm starting to look at, it's a lot closer, a lot better read. So the issue for my liking is he needs to stay ahead of these guys. So what is he doing to make sure that he stays ahead of these leaders? He is fuel saving. He is tire saving. He's not pushing these things to their utmost right now. He's trying to make sure that in 5 laps time, when the leaders do get to him, he can hold them off. Because if he goes 3 laps, never mind, I said that. I'm wrong. Okay, never mind. Carry on.
Well, we also saw Dylan Stipe go a lap down. Now, to my knowledge, he's kept his nose relatively clean here.
Tim Hendry's back on pit lane?
Yes, he is. This has to be unscheduled.
I have no clue what's going on.
Try and follow up on that here, as we've got a 3-way battle for 3rd place, but we just saw Dylan Stipe actually go a lap down. I believe he's the car that this 3rd place battle is trying to pass, and for the most part, Dylan Stipe has pretty much kept himself out of trouble today, but with the pace he's running right now, I think he might be another driver that is in fuel conservation mode or entire conservation mode, maybe both. He got back on the lead lap, got the lucky dog a couple of cautions ago, and right now is on the same fuel sequence as everybody else. As soon as I say that, he's diving for pit lane.
What? I'm confused. I don't know what's going on.
I'm confused too. I'm kind of almost in the stage of sit back and see what happens. Don't even try to calculate the numbers, because a lot of different strategies that are way outside of what I was expecting are all of a sudden coming to light.
I don't know what baseball is. I have a somewhat of an idea what a curveball is, and look, I think this kind of a curveball went both ways. It started off dipping low, then it's curved back up, and now it's dipped to the left as well. This is one of the ones that I'm not even sure what's going on.
Well, this now has made this battle for 2nd place with Brandon King, Brian Cybery, and Justin Belmonte. 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, but this is taking place almost 4 seconds behind the race leader, Braxton DeWeese. There you see Dylan Stipe coming off of pit lane. Stipe has now fallen 3 laps down to the race leader, and unless you can...
pit lane?
Unless you can make it the rest of the way from here on out,
no.
I don't see how you can get those 3 laps back. You'd have to be running a slower pace to make sure you're going to make it on fuel. I'm very confused with some of these guys' strategies. Maybe they feel that they aren't going to be able to finish up inside the top 5, so they're kind of playing out strategy that could get them a 6th or a 7th place finish or something like that. I don't know.
I look. If I had all the answers, I'd probably be out there on track, racking up win after win after win. I don't have all the answers, and we're seeing that play out right now. I'm confused. My only thing is guys like Alex Link's pitting right now. My thoughts is he did the math wrong. He's about 10 laps away from when he needs to pit. Has he done the incorrect math? He hasn't carried a 1?
I don't know. I really don't. Well, okay, so based off of stage 2, we ended up
55
running...
laps was the marker.
Yeah, so he would be, what, 10 laps short? I don't know.
Alex
Here's the
he
thing.
must have a spare set of tires, because what I think he's doing is he's going, all right, well, it's a 2-stop from here. I'm going to split the difference. I'm going to keep myself on fresh tires for as long as possible. If the race goes green, it's definitely the better strategy, the better way to go. If it doesn't go green and you get cautions, he's completely screwed. But he's screwed from where he is anyway, so he may as well at least attempt to have a crack at that. That's about the only strategy that I'm thinking of. He's trying to split the difference.
The thing I'm trying to figure out here, Dover, there is a lot of off-the-throttle time, especially when you go into a long green flag run, because if you get back onto the throttle too soon, you're going to slide up into the outside wall, which we've seen several drivers do during the course of this race. So with having so much off-the-throttle time, and the pace definitely backing down, how much fuel is it possible to save in the course of maybe a 10-lap run here if you clutch into every corner? I don't know if you run an entire 55-lap run if you can save that 10 laps of fuel.
You can't. 10 laps is too much. You might be able to save 5, 6 at a stretch. 10, get out. If you can tell me you can save 10 laps of fuel at Dover, I would bet money against you. 100%. You tell me what's the odds? You giving me 1-to-1 odds? You give me your money. I'm betting against you every day of the week. You cannot do 10 laps. That's not possible.
Well, okay, here's the one strategy that we can guarantee we know. Braxton DeWeese is trying to set down as best lap times as he possibly can, open up that gap back to second place, so that way when he comes to pit road, even if he has a pit road miscue, maybe he has a little bit of an error, having to slow way down, maybe miss that commitment box coming onto pit lane, he's going to have enough recovery time that when he comes down the leader, he's going to come back out the race leader.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he's 4 seconds in front. I'm just watching the lap times. It looks like Brandon King's his closest competition. Brandon King is actually quicker through 1 and 2, and Braxton's making all of his time off of 3 and 4. So that's sort of in comparison where it's going. Right now, Brandon King seems to have found another gear. Dylan Stipe's actually going to come on way and come back through past the race leaders on his fresher tires. He's done a great job of looking after his cars. You mentioned it a little bit earlier on. He needed to make sure that he looked after his car. He's done that successfully. Great job for him. But where does that leave our leaders? Well, I'm not 100% sure. Stipe, just as he goes back past the leader there, he'll either be, I'm pretty sure he's 2 laps down at this point in time in P8, which means he'll put himself back onto the... Well, I'm just going to wait. I need to see... I'm confused, man. I've lost it. If anyone knows where I've lost my marbles and could gather them back up and send them back my way, that would be fantastic.
It's going to be kind of hard to find those marbles up in the top of 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, because I guarantee you there's a lot of marbles up there.
Oh yeah, isn't there?
So
okay, so Stipe is 2 laps down. That's confirmed. So he's going to go gangbusters right now, and his goal will be to get himself back to 1 lap down, which I'm pretty sure he can.
Well, if he can make it on fuel, which again we're projecting he can't, we know that you can lose 2 laps when coming to pit road. So whenever Braxton DeWeese comes to pit lane, Dylan Stipe could find himself back on the lead lap, or at least very close to getting that final lap back. But again, as we're projecting here, he's banking on a caution to save him to be able to get back on the lead lap, because we don't have him projected at making it to the finish.
I'm just going to do a little quick flick through my data. In terms of who actually has the fastest 25 lap average time, you aren't going to believe this. Mike Tellier.
Really?
With that new engine and that modified that he's displaying, everywhere from 25 all the way up to 45 lap pace, he has the best average pace for that time period. After 45, it goes to Dylan Stipe has the best 50 lap average pace. Now, Dylan Stipe, at this point in time, won't be looking at a 50 lap average pace. What he'll be looking, his target will be lap 225, a 35 lap run to home, I think. I think that's when we'll expect to see him down pit lane. Now, let's talk about the differences between an extended strategy and a split the difference strategy. An extended strategy, you are going to be on old tires for somewhere in the realm of 15 to 20 laps. That is the difference that Dylan Stipe is trying to cut out. He's cutting that out of his run, which means that the difference is at that 15 to go point of the other car, he's going to come in, grab fresh tires, and be 1 to 2 seconds a lap faster for the 15 laps. That's where the big gain is. You can nearly make up a pit stop, and that's nearly. You're looking at probably 1.5 laps during that time period. But then again, that other car that's done a longer run will then be faster than you at the tail end of the race. Stipe isn't out of contention, is what my math is telling me. There's options here, though, for multiple drivers. And Dylan Stipe is 2 laps down. Derek Schilling is now 2 laps down. And everyone else ahead of them is on the lead lap. Things to consider.
So right now Dylan Stipe would be gunning for the 69 of Derek Schilling to be the first car 2 laps down. If we were to get a caution, nobody would get back on the lead lap. The first car 1 lap down would be put then to -1, as Braxton DeWeese now 50 laps away from home. Right now, if we look at our top 7, 5 of them are drivers that have found victory lane so far this season. Blaze McKinney running in the 5th position, had that damage from the contact between himself and Jeremy Boucher about 30 laps ago. He is right now in the 5th position after having maybe one of the fastest cars in the field here tonight. But a good points night is going to take place for Brandon King. I mean, this is a huge run for him right now. Last week was his best finish so far this season. 3rd place at Darlington. Right now, trying to hold off Brian Sybry for 2nd place, albeit these drivers still projected having to come to pit road at some point. But 11th in the point standings coming into this race, trying to get himself pointed into the top 16 if he doesn't find victory lane in the next 13 races. This is maybe the race of the season right now for that 89.
Yeah, Brandon King, look, I can't recall a week where he hasn't found contact with another car, he hasn't found the fence. It's been a shocker, so for him to now be in the situation that he's in, with the potential that he's got, who knows? Does he turn the corner here? We talked about it earlier in the night. He's turning the corner in terms of overall pace. If he puts that big old check in the box for race win tonight, that points him into the playoffs. He starts to take a breath of fresh air. He gets to release. I think that's the best possible thing that he can do. If he grabs a race win in the next couple weeks, he's got 10 weeks to sort of breathe, find his form once again, and then go out there and find what he's got. Who knows what could happen? I'm just having a look. I have a feeling Blaze McKinney just got a penalty for speeding on entry to pit road.
And he's coming down with Justin Belmonte, so we'll see if McKinney is indeed going to get a penalty or not. We'll be able to tell that. He would be given a 30-second penalty in his stall. We'll follow up on that here as he is going to be coming down to the attention of his crew in pit stall number 1 as a result of being the pole sitter here tonight. And going back to the Brandon King, as he lost 2nd place to Brian Sybry, I don't know if drivers believe in livery luck, but the last race that we broadcasted back at Kansas, he was still running the scheme he was driving since Daytona, that Days of Thunder throwback. He has now swapped over to that William Byron scheme. I don't know if he drove that last week at Darlington, but if he did, apparently that livery has been giving him some good luck.
Yeah, I mean, who
Belmonte
knows?
spins it on the apron there. Fortunately, did not come back up the track as he's going to get the thing going again, but that could have been a heart-stopping moment in turn 1.
That could have been a heart-stopping moment for him. Think about the guys that are now around him. Derek Schilling is just about to come up on him, and then just behind Derek Schilling, 5 seconds back up the track, is Dylan Stipe. He coming down to pit lane. He was in contact with Blaze McKinney. Blaze McKinney says, "Thank you kindly, boys. I'm going to grab myself a spot."
And your top 4 have now hit pit road with 43 laps to go. DeWeese, Sybry, Boucher, and King all making potentially their final pit stops of the day.
Oh, guaranteed it's their final pit stops of the day for a couple of these guys. The only thing that's going to create another pit stop is that yellow flag flying in the air. So, look, there'll be a couple guys that'll be wanting to see that yellow. There'll be a couple guys that don't want to see that yellow. I think DeWeese is going to set of tires. I think McKinney's maybe got a set of tires. I'm not 100% sure, even though McKinney's down on power. But Blaze McKinney right now is sitting in P2. He's got an option.
And he's on the same straightaway as Braxton DeWeese. He was running 5th, about 5 seconds behind Braxton DeWeese before he came down pit road after his pit stop. Now 1.7 seconds away, and he can see the 3 machine.
Did Boucher get a penalty? Or was he already a lap down?
Boucher was on the tail end of the lead lap, moments away from going a lap down. And when he did come to pit road, he cycles around -1.
Oh, big moment for Bushi too. Start talking about him. Throw the commentator's curse out there. Dylan Stipe's going to cycle back down to pit road. He's looking to grab himself a fresh set of tires. He got all the way back up to the lead lap, so now he's going to hold a pace advantage over everyone else. If there is a yellow, Dylan Stipe will finish at the back end of the lead lap. That is one thing that you can guarantee. So he's got a long way to go from home. He should be the fastest car for the remainder of the race, but he's thrown a big old caution to the wind and gone, yeah, look, this is going to be a green flag run from here home.
Now, at this point in time, the older drivers that are still waiting for that caution to come out to maybe save their races in some way, shape, or form. Alex Lincoln, the 71, he's now been out there for 29 laps on his set of tires. We don't have him projected making it to the finish without coming to pit road one more time. Same for Tim Hendry. He's been out there for 32 laps, 3 laps down in that 10th position. So the 71 of Alex Link, who is the second car 1 lap down, you can clearly see that his pace way off of the fresher tires around him. He is hoping and praying for caution. And what happened to Brandon King? Because all of a sudden, that car looks like a modified. The hood's completely gone. The engine exposed. Still holding that last spot in the lead lap in 5th place.
When did that happen? That wasn't like that when they went to the pits for their service. I'm going to have a look, man. I'll be back with you with some more information.
Well, it's right now at least still up to speed, it looks like. An overheating engine probably will be the least of his worries. It's getting plenty of clean air to it. But obviously something happened to Brandon King. Still in the top 5, however, as Braxton DeWeese now opens up about a 2-second gap back to Blaze McKinney in that 87 machine and continuing to increase that lap after lap. He'll be coming around here to see 35 laps to go at Dover International.
Okay, I found it. I found exactly what happened. Brandon King, you remember what Alex Link did on his way into pit road?
Yep.
Brandon King did the same thing, but worse. He actually got the barrels.
That pit road wall is one of the most treacherous portions of this racetrack. You carry so much speed down onto the pit road entry. That's why they've got that orange box there, because some drivers have such difficulty getting the car woed down. You've got to have your all 4 tires below the left side of that orange box, and a couple of drivers now have had difficulty getting that car woed down and getting that that edge of the pit road entry wall. You know, people may not realize it, but if you went on board with one of these drivers, or if you got in the car yourself, you come around at a turn 4, that commitment line and pit road entry, it kind of comes from out of nowhere. It's literally a blind corner for these drivers.
Yeah, when you come into pit lane, 100%. I'm recalling earlier from the night, like, just the perfect opportunity we saw was actually Alex Link. He comes down, he comes off the banking, he gets onto the apron, and he keeps the wheels turned hard left, and the car's just going straight. It is just plowing forward. The thing just does not want to turn, catches the wall. Oh, rough night at the office for him. That's just going to be about all she wrote for his night. Well, yeah, Brandon King, I mean, we were talking about it, but one mistake. He's had such a good night in terms of running the car through traffic. He's run through all the difficult aspects of the race, and it looks like it's just set to be a nice little cruise through to the finish. Disaster strikes, man. Oh, I hate seeing cars doing that. You know what? You know the one car I'm actually enjoying seeing doing really well out on track right now is Blaze McKinney. He's doing a phenomenal job. He did come to pit road a little bit. He come to pit road 2 laps earlier than everyone else around him. Brian Cybery is the next car behind him. The gap back to Cybery is 3 seconds. He's losing a little bit of time to the cars around him right now on this last lap. That's mainly because of traffic. Other than that, when I'm seeing him in fresh air, the difference is only 0.1, 0.2 of a second. So I would estimate that I think Blaze McKinney is going to recover from just being in the wrong place, wrong time, to actually grab himself a podium finish. And from the race that he's had, that's a great result extracted.
Yeah, right now, for Braxton DeWeese, this is a perfect scenario for him because he has the advantage tire-wise over Blaze McKinney. We know McKinney has that damage as well from nosing it into the inside wall in the back straightaway, so that's going to be hindering his RPMs maybe a little bit on these short front and back straightaways. Plus as well, Brian Cybery, you commented on it earlier on in this race, and I've been observing it the entirety of the 2 first stages. He had such difficulty in traffic hooking that car to the bottom. He would be running the middle to high side just about every single lap. Could not get to the shorter way around the racetrack. You talked about him being back there in traffic. Well, he was having trouble hooking the bottom again. When he gets into clean air, he can hook the inside line, but once he's back in somebody's draft, he cannot get that car down to the inside line. So apparently if he's thrown some swings at his setup here tonight to try and get that car a little bit better to run the inside line, those adjustments have not worked.
Yeah, I mean, there's different options. For my liking, what Cyber's trying to do by running that higher line is he's actually trying to set up the momentum run on the corner exit, especially with the lap traffic, so he can dive it down on the inside of the next corner. Ultimately, the line that he's running is a little bit easier on the tires by running that little bit of an extra lane up. It means you can back the corner up a little bit. You're a little bit higher. You're looking more for a diamond shape to the corner. So there's a couple of different options that he's trying. Yeah, look, he's taken some swings at it. It hasn't worked, which is... When you think of things, Cybery's actually had a really good season in terms of how he's adjusted the car, and over the long runs, he's been one of the better drivers to make adjustments, make tweaks as the night's going on, and generally he finds himself, even if he doesn't start the night at the pointy end of things, he's always there by the end of things. So, look, Dover's a tricky track. It's the Monster Mile. You know, it eats you up, it chews you up, it spits you out, and... Again, he's another one of these drivers that has had a rough night, setup hasn't gone his way, car hasn't gone his way, he's still extracting a podium from it. So what you can say is, yeah, sure, he hasn't had the car he needed tonight, but man, the class of a driver comes out, puts itself on display, and shows itself when you don't have the car underneath you.
Our winner from Homestead Miami Speedway now trying to take the second position away from Blaze McKinney. You got to wonder if McKinney might try and play a little defense for his High Five Racing teammate Braxton DeWeese and try and hold this 33 up just a little bit, because the last couple of laps, incredibly enough, Ryan Sybry has been running anywhere from a tenth to 2/10 faster than the 3 machine, closing in on 20 laps to go.
Close. It is actually really, really close. I don't think there's enough time left. There's 5 seconds is the margin. The other thing is that he's got to get past Blaze McKinney. We're talking about his car's not strong in traffic. Well, Blaze McKinney, teammate to Braxton DeWeese, is going to make himself the widest-bodied NASCAR you've ever seen. This is going to be the hardest overtake that Cybery's going to have to make all night long. Then he's going to have to get up to the leader. Then he's going to have to get past Braxton DeWeese. There's an option on Cyber. You could definitely say that there is a case for this guy coming to the lead of the race and winning this thing yet again, but he's a dark horse at this point, and I don't back him in, from my mind. I think this is Braxton's to lose.
Yeah, this strategy right now is working if Blaze McKinney is trying to hold up that 33, because since Cyber got to the back bumper of the 87, he has lost 3/10 to Braxton DeWeese and continuing to try and find his way around. You got to wonder, though, when does Cyber finally say, hey, buddy, get out of my way, and actually uses the front bumper?
Cyber is not that driver. He'll recognize that this is for the overall race result at this point. This is basically as far forward as he's going to get. And from every conversation I've had with Cyber, he's smart enough to recognize that he's a very, very smart driver. Right now, he's gotten to the back bumper. I'd say Cyber is cooling his tires off and just notching his pace down a little bit. He's going to wait that 10 laps, and then he's going to go after McKinney, and I think he's about to do that right now.
Putting the pressure as he tried to diamond the corner there to get that corner exit on the straightaway. Now moves up to the second groove. We'll see if maybe he can get along the right side of the 87 coming off of turn 4. Can't quite do it this time. 5 drivers on the lead lap. Dylan Stipe just got around Derek Schilling to become the first car 1 lap down, as Cyber finally is going to make the pass on Blaze McKinney and move into second place. 17 laps to cut down 6.5 seconds between himself and Braxton DeWeese. So Stipe, should the caution come out, would get the lap back, but he is 3 laps down right now, so he would only be at -2 should we get a late race caution.
Yeah, time to, Stipe's done all he can. Right now, he just locks things down. He just says, yeah, look, I mean, I've got this thing. This is as fast forward as I'm going to come. Caution comes out. Yeah, no worries. I'll take that. I'll make sure that I'm that extra lap ahead of my competition, and I stay at that 2 laps down mark. But remember, he's going to make sure that he's nice and clean to the end of the race should a caution come out, because he wants to make sure if another caution follows, he gets another lucky dog. He doesn't grab himself a portion of the accident and let one of his rivals come back to the 2-lap down marker with him, because remember, if you're involved in the accident, that lucky dog goes to the next car behind you. So Stipe will be aware. Stipe's just going to run a clean race to the end. And in terms of things, he's another driver that has the smarts around him, and he's got the head glued onto his shoulders. You cannot point your way into a playoff without being a smart race driver, and Stipe definitely represents that.
Two-time winner Jeremy Bouchy will nail down 10th place finishing result here tonight as he is on pit road. Looks like they're getting a lot of repairs done to his machine. He will not be able to get back out there, pick up any more spots, but nor will he lose any positions to Travis Daly or Mike Tellier. Not enough laps for them to be able to capitalize on him sitting on pit lane.
Sorry, just going to take it away from you. Blaze McKinney just caught the wall off of 1 and 2.
And that would
to save it.
It'd be about the second or third time on this run that he's hit the wall. He got the wall not too long after Bryant Cybery got around him for second place. Now, real quickly about Cybery as well. Very limited laps, 12 laps left to go. He has been running 1 to 2 tenths faster than Braxton DeWeese, but by my calculations, he would still need about maybe 30 laps on this run at that pace to reel Braxton DeWeese in. And even if he got to him, how much of his tires did he use up trying to get around Blaze McKinney, and how much of his tires would he be using up trying to run down Braxton DeWeese? He'd have nothing left if he was able to get to the back bumper of the 3.
Yeah, nothing left. It'd be all over, all done, all said and told. So ultimately, what I think Cyber is trying to do at this time is look after his tires. If we get a caution and everyone else around him pits, Cyber stays out. Again, smart cookie. He's got to try something different, right? That's what he's trying to do. He's trying to give himself the tires that he needs to get to the end here.
Cybery, DeWeese, and Belmonte, 3 of your top 4, all drivers that have been to victory lane this season. DeWeese at Richmond, Cybery at Homestead, and Belmonte last week at Darlington Raceway. 9 laps to go here for Braxton DeWeese, and obviously very good apparently at the short tracks. Richmond was win number 1. It's looking like Dover may be win number 2. As Alex Link in the 71 pulls up to his back bumper. Link is 4 laps down in the 8th position. He cannot really pick up any more positions here as he's 1 lap behind 7th place and 4 laps ahead of 9th place, but gonna at least battle for the moment here with the race leader, try and see if he can get himself to 3 laps down in the finishing results.
Oh, look, I mean, you can say what you want about a lot of the drivers out there tonight. It's been a long night. It's been disastrous, and I think that a lot more guys are going to adopt the mindset that Mike Telly has adopted. From my mind, somebody like Travis Daly, who basically got to the point whereby he couldn't lose another spot to Mike Tellier, and then he parked it for the night. I mean, yeah, there's a benefit to that. It's frustrating being out there on a track without having a car underneath you that you can be competitive in. Yeah, that's frustrating, but if you can keep yourself 3 laps down, look at that. You'd still be in competition with Stipe, any of those guys, just by being out there and being on the racetrack. So there's options. I think there's a few guys that'll have a look at themselves at this point in time and make a few different decisions. Brendan King's gone a lap down. I think he's on pit lane.
And I don't know if maybe they didn't get that thing full of fuel. I believe he'll still finish top 10, which was going to bring up my next point. After this race, only 1 driver will have finished in the top 10 in both of the Dover races in the Clutch Drop Cup Series. That would be Brandon King. He finished 8th here 1 year ago. Actually, no, correction. I'm mistaken. A 10th place finish last year as well for Dylan Stipe, who right now runs in 6th. So 2 drivers would have back-to-back top 10 finishes here at Dover. And I want to give a little bit of an attaboy as well to Derek Schilling. I know that car looks like it's been through the wars, the whole front grille completely gone, the nose of that machine. But we talk about the fact that since he won the season opener at Daytona, things have just not gone his way. That was his first top 10 and top 5 on the season. Since then, only 1 other top 10 in this season. And to be running right now in the 8th position, albeit 3 laps down, great job of surviving here at Dover, and that's basically what most of these drivers have been here today is survivors, because you look through the field, and with the possible exception of maybe the 3 of DeWeese, the 33 of Cyber, and the 12 of Belmonte, every single one of these drivers have sustained damage.
Yeah, and the thing to point out about that's a perfect stat, actually. Thank you for bringing that to everyone's attention, Seth, is that the most important thing is look at the quality of the drivers who have been in trouble. Actually, Travis Daly's made his way back out on the racing circuit. I'm actually impressed. Great job, Travis. Look at the quality of drivers that have struggled tonight. There are some extremely high quality drivers that will not be taking the checkered flag. You know, we've got winners. Actually, talking about taking the checkered flag, Braxton DeWeese has got 1 corner left to go.
Richmond was where he found his first clutch drop racing win, and today at Dover, he will tame Monster Miles. He's going to pick up his 2nd win on the season at Dover, becomes the 3rd multi-time winner on the season, joining Jeremy Boucher and Oscar Jensen. And for a driver that was already locked into the playoffs, he's even more so now, going to pick up some very valuable playoff points. And more importantly, he's going to be the top survivor here today at the Concrete Mile track.
Hey, oh, what a drive from Braxton DeWeese and teammate, you know, as well, Blaze McKinney. That was a team performance right there. Blaze McKinney protected his... Blaze, unfortunately, got involved in an incident, didn't have the car underneath him to challenge Braxton for the win, but he did absolutely everything he needed to do from a teammate's perspective to ensure that Cybery couldn't challenge him. You know, there was a point in time there where you almost would have backed Cybery to get all the way up to him, and then you have a look at the traffic that was between them, and you see McKinney, and you go, well, good luck. You know, I think this one is Braxton's to take home. 2 short track races of note, 2 short track wins of note. About the only one he hasn't won is you throw it over to, where am I thinking of? It's going out of my head. Just after, was it just before Richmond? Was it just before Richmond?
Yeah, it was. Martinsville was just before
That's
Richmond.
Yeah, Martinsville. And when you have a look at the race that we had at Martinsville and the tempers that flared at Martinsville and the drivers, you know, it was a good opportunity for the drivers to reflect, and the guy that comes away at the top end of that afterwards, Braxton DeWeese, you know, and another rough week, another rough outing last week at Darlington. DeWeese seems to be the driver that responds the best. You know, you throw pressure at a bunch of these guys, DeWeese is going to be the one that comes out and wins the next race immediately afterwards.
Well, and to your point about DeWeese's performance at the short tracks, you know, the win here at Dover, the win at Richmond, but even if we go back to Martinsville, you know, he was caught up in that little bit of controversy that went on. He still brought it home in the 6th position and led 142 laps. So he's obviously very good at the tracks with the smaller configuration in the heavy braking zones.
Yeah, look, well, if you talk about braking zones, next week at COTA, there's a lot of braking zones for you, but that's not a short track in any stretch of the imagination. So does that mean that Braxton DeWeese becomes our first 3-time winner next week?
Ooh, I don't know. I mean, it's the first road course stop of the season.
And it's a track we haven't been to before, and it's probably the most intense road course of the season.
Yeah, we're going to have to kind of look at last season's stats at the road courses that are there, but there's a number of drivers, I think, that are going to be making their first road course start in the Clutch Drop Cup Series next week as well. So, you know, we're going to kind of be having kind of a blank slate of statistics of who our road course ringers could possibly be. We may have to rely on practice, maybe qualifying before we even take the green flag next week to kind of figure out who the favorites might possibly be. But here's your survivors. These are the list of drivers that were able to make it to the checkered flag and are going to get top 10 results for their performances here. Cybery in second. Blaze McKinney, great debut for him, out in front for a good portion of this race early on. Second place in both the stages, brings it home in the 3rd position. Justin Belmonte, the consistency continues now for last week's winner with a top 5 run in 4th. And Brandon King, despite having to make that late race pit stop, he's going to bring it home in the 5th position. Big points day for him. Dylan Stipe, a little bit off pit sequence here today, but He'll bring that machine home in 6th. Alex Link, our Stage 1 winner, finishes in 7th. Derek Schilling in 8th. 9th place for Tim Hendry, and Jeremy Bouchy will complete the top 10. He was on pit road at the conclusion of this race. And the last drivers to finish, Travis Daly, 39 laps down, 78 laps down for Mike Tellier, but still better points days than what it could have been because a number of drivers finished in the garage area. Keenan Massey, Alonzo Chicano, Braden Carroll. Those three, all former winners this season. Jacob Grant, who started on the outside of the front row. Cody Terry, Matt Dyer, Oscar Jensen, two-time winner in 19th, and Caleb Smith, the last driver to finish here today at Dover. This was kind of 3 different races in one here, Scott. We ended up having the attrition of Stage 1, the fuel strategy race of Stage 2, and then it just came down to who had the best car in that third and final stage.
Well, I mean, you say it, right? It's a different... The third and final stage wasn't the same fuel strategy race that the second stage was, but I still think it was a fuel strategy race. You needed a good car underneath you, yes, definitely, but you also needed to have the right strategy. I mean, look at the number of guys that had to pit twice, look at the number of guys that pitted under caution and made their night a heck of a lot easier just through that extra fuel stop whilst they could chance it, you know. And then you have a look at the guys like Dylan Stipe, who put himself off sequence. He tried to keep himself on the lead lap. He threw a curveball at everyone else. Things just didn't fall his way. I mean, when you look at the night as a whole, yeah, definitely 3 different races in one is probably the best way to say overall what it could have been.
Let's see if we can go down trackside and talk with our top 3 finishers here tonight. How about we start with debuting driver Blaze McKinney, who's going to bring it home P3 here at the Monster Mile. Hey Blaze, it's Scott and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
I got you.
Well, first off, congratulations on a tremendous run in your debut. You start on the pole, you finish second in both the first 2 stages, but we know your car was fast. It paced the field in practice. It paced the field in qualifying. Got that number 1 pit stall, most importantly there when you had those cautions early on in this race. But we saw you get that damage there in the contact for second place, that left front damage. If you didn't have that, if that car was up to 100%, did you have anything for the 3 to be able to pick up the victory in your season debut?
Yeah, I believe I did. I feel like I was faster than him most of the race. He was struggling with tightness on the long run, and my car. I mean, I be honest, that my car was just amazing the whole race. I didn't have to make any adjustments. I'm really proud of how we worked on the setup and how it came out. It was a really fast car. I think once I got past second place car there, I think we could have ran down Braxton and battled him. And I don't know if we would have won, but we at least would have had a good battle. So, I mean, all in all, I'm happy at least one of us High Five Racing guys got the win. So I'm happy Braxton got the win, but I believe I'm pretty disappointed. I think we could have won the race. We had a really, really fast car.
I mean, you can. There's 2 different ways you can look at this, right? You can say difficult night at the office, definitely had the fastest car, but the alternate side of that is maybe some of the other cars around you also had that little bit of preservation. I mean, it was tough, right? It is the Monster Mile. It chews you up, it spits you out. Do you think you played the race correctly? What else could you? There wasn't much more that you really could have done. It was just about preserving that car, and in the end, you clout the inside wall because of a mistake from another car around you. Night not necessarily done, but you've also got to say that there is a positive in with the damaged race car. You've come away with a third. Which side are you taking tonight?
Yeah, I think I played the cards right. I put myself in good positions when if I felt like I was in danger of getting in a wreck, I just let someone go or just back out of it. So I think I was just making a good little move there to get past the 73, and then he just bounced off the outside wall. I mean, it was nothing I could do there. It was just bad, wrong place, wrong time. And like you said, that's how Dover is. Just self-cleaning racetrack. If someone hits a wall, they're going straight down into you. So I think I did a good job personally myself, putting myself in good positions. It was just wrong place, wrong time at the one time, and just the car just wasn't the same after that.
Now, Blaze, we ended up obviously seeing, it's very easy to visually see where the rubber is laid down on a concrete track like Dover, and we saw most drivers hooked down on that inside line. At what point during the race did you guys start to have options open where you could maybe take the middle line, maybe take the top side, try to see if you could get some straightaway speed?
Yeah, I think really late in the race there, on like that last run, I think the track got so much rubber on it, and a lot of them guys in front of me in like second, third, or fourth on like the second to last run were running up top there, so they were laying some rubber down and helping that middle groove come in. So that last run when I was trying to battle with Bryant for second, I was running the middle there, and it was actually kind of working for me. So I think really late in the race it started coming, but the whole race, all in all, was just mostly a bottom feeder.
Well, Blaze, once again, congratulations on a tremendous debut here tonight. Start on pole, finished third place, led quite a number of laps early on in this one as well, and good performances in those first two stages. We're now going to give the opportunity for some thank you sponsors and shoutouts.
First of all, Rocket Racing setups for the fast car today. All the guys at High Five Racing, appreciate Jacob for bringing me on this season. I appreciate you guys, of course, for bringing on the broadcast. Crystal Designs, Proximity Racing, Rowdy Energy, Bunch of Lawn Care, and I believe that's it. Oh, and Tight End Loose Off. Almost forgot. There you go. That's it.
Well, that's Blaze McKinney. Season debut, comes home with a podium finish. Third place here tonight at the Monster Mile at Dover. Once again, congratulations, Blaze, and hopefully we see you here for the remainder of the season. If we do next week, good luck at COTA.
Sounds good. Thank you, guys.
Let's see if we can get our Homestead winner, second place finisher here tonight, Brian Sybury. Hey, Brian, it's Scott and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
Scott and Seth, my guys, what's happening, dudes?
Wow, I mean, we saw you early on in this race. It looked like a lot of drivers were struggling, kind of observed that it seemed to be difficult for you to hold the bottom in the traffic. But then we got to the end of this race, and all of a sudden that 33 seemed to find an entirely different groove and a lot of speed. Was that in contributing to the adjustments you made during the course of this run? Was it that you were in conservation mode early on in this race? Did the track conditions come to you? What was it that had this 33 all of a sudden find a little bit of extra speed there and almost make this thing a race?
Yeah, when I came out of my solo practice sessions and I jumped into the server, I was a little bit loose, and so I tightened it up at the start of the race just to be conservative. I don't want to wreck, early on, and so I started that first run a little tight. And I, in my racing experience, if someone's faster, I'm just going to let them go right, and I'll try to track them back down. So let a couple guys slip through and until I get the handling right, and just be there at the end. And so once I started making adjustments, pretty much every stop of the race, I was loosening in it just a little bit more, and I finally got it to where I liked it. And then it was got fun to drive, and the field spreads out, and it's easier to pass people, and less danger, and all that good stuff.
For my liking, look, you called us, you guys, up on your way into the booth. Like, I love talking to you, man. You're so honest, you're so open, and we get a lot of information and feedback out of you. I mean, let's talk your battle towards the back end of that race with Blaze McKinney, and then hopefully, if you had enough pace to be able to get it up onto Braxton. Do you think that you had to burn up everything and you never really had a shot after you got past Blaze? Was there ever a thought that you were going to be able to track down Braxton? Was he just too good tonight?
Yeah, so Braxton, he made, I was talking to him before you guys brought me up here, he made an adjustment on that last green flag stop that just hooked his car up the best it had been all night. And for me, I was tight, so I was on the loose side of tight at that point, loose side of neutral. So I had to wait about 8 laps. If you guys saw me going into 3 there, a couple times I get loose and I have to go walk it up to the wall and not hit it and let a few cars by. So I learned that I had to give my car like 8 laps to get the tires heated up and a little wear into them, and then it was fine. So I was just kind of taking my time and those first opening laps of a new fresh set of tires, and I saw Blaze was 3.5 seconds ahead of me. I thought, man, I gotta work to get him, and I was clicking him down, and then when I got to him, just when you get behind the car, when you don't have that air on your nose, it just kind of pushes a little bit, and so it took me a few laps to get by him, and just kind of was staying patient, knew I had the speed, so I don't want to wreck both of us here sitting in second and third, want good finishes. So once he gave me that little crack of door open, I went there, and I'm glad that he. At that point, I think he knew too. It was no point in battling. But I had nothing for Braxton. He was gone that last run for sure.
All right, so Brian, let's look ahead to next week, because normally a lot of these tracks we've been coming to at the beginning of this season are tracks that Clutch Drop has been to back in Season 1, so we've had some data to be able to go off of. We've got nothing when it comes to COTA next week, so we don't really know who the drivers are. They're looking forward to the road courses, the drivers that are maybe just going in there trying to survive the road course. Where do you fit in that? Are you looking forward to COTA next week?
So I am not an experienced road course guy. I don't like these cars there. I don't do a whole lot of road racing in general. So actually I felt my Dover car was pretty much locked in, put it on the truck Wednesday afternoon. And started practicing Coda Thursday and Friday, and I'll practice all this week. And first it was make a clean lap, and then it was make 2 clean laps, and it was like, okay, now I started picking up break points, and you look for things in the on the shadows or signs to start figuring out where you need to brake at and find the right gears, and then I started clicking off seconds, and so I feel like I've got the track mapped. So now it's just trying to get faster. I'm really looking forward to it. As much as I'm not that good on road races, I look forward to challenges. So we'll see what happens. This league could get spread out. It could there should be some room to race, and it's going to be fun.
I tell you what, I've been sitting here, and probably the last 20 minutes, I've made up my mind. I'm racing next week. I want to jump in. I'm going to have to badger Dylan Stipe to get me in this league, get me a car for next week. You want a teammate?
You're an Aussie, right? This is your kind of thing.
This is bread and butter.
I'm thinking back in the old NASCAR days, I used to call in drivers. You come drive the 33, and you get some points for me. I'm all about it.
Seth, I'm sorry, mate. I'm going to have to ditch you for broadcasting duties next week. Cyber is my man.
I got a feeling a lot of politicking is going to be taking place in the next couple of days.
Yeah, no, it'd be awesome to have you. Again, I know you Aussies love the road racing, and so I actually have one on my team right now, and he does a great job. But yeah, he does that stuff in real life. So, but I like it. I only do it when the cup cars go there, and then these cup cars are just a beast to handle, right? They're not made for roads, so I'd probably be better and enjoy it a lot more if I went and drove road cars, but I only got so many hours in a week, and this is where I kind of make my home, so.
Scott, I like you a lot, so I'm going to tell you this as a friend. If you're going to run next week, don't run a sponsored FRN car if you want to finish the race. Brian, congratulations on second place run here. We're going to now turn the microphone over to you, let you do some thank you sponsors and shout outs.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys coming out tonight, and as always, Dylan, for doing the hard work to keep this league together. And I couldn't imagine what it takes to be an admin, so appreciate him. And just the good overall race tonight. I thought the league did a pretty good job of staying, for the most part, pretty clean and giving space. And yeah, I just have fun. That's what I come out here to do this for.
Well, Brian Cybery, great performance here tonight. Late charge there as well to be able to snag second place here at Dover International. Congratulations, Brian, and best of luck to you next week in that first road course race at COTA.
All right, thanks, guys.
And let's go down to victory lane. Now 2-time winner Braxton DeWeese, your winner here tonight at the Monster Mile. Hey, Braxton, it's Scott and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
Yeah, I do.
All right, man, as soon as that car got out in clean air, it was flying, but you had a couple of drivers there that were starting to reel you in at certain points in this race. Your teammate McKinney was starting to close in at one point, and Brian Cyber was making a late charge. What was going through your mind there? Was it still try and preserve those tires, or were you trying to get everything you could out of that race car to keep that gap managed as best as possible?
I just wanted to make sure I went just as smooth as I can be. I had a pretty good lead to just ride and make sure I'm not doing anything wrong. No need to push extra hard. Just make some smooth laps. Make sure you keep that distance, obviously, but you just don't want to go over that edge too much. But yeah, I just wanted to conserve there a little bit and make it to the end there. I don't want to make any dumb mistake or try to go over the board having a 4-second lead. So I just wanted to make sure I was in a rhythm, being really smooth, making sure I was good on the tires, and make sure we got to the end there.
Look, I mean, Braxton, we've been to 3 short tracks so far. Of recent note, you've taken the victory at 2 of them. Next week requires a lot of the same skills that you would be really using at a short track in a road course at COTA. Is this the biggest challenge you guys are going to face this season, do you think, at COTA? Or do you just sort of back it down and take a consistent result? You don't push too hard, you don't focus too hard on next week?
Every week I really don't like to conserve. Even if I'm in the playoffs, I really want to win. So we'll try to practice and see what we can do. I've had a race at Coda, so I have some laps on it, but they had a update, so we'll practice it. I've won on some road courses before. This is totally different though. This is different though, but it's a Formula One track, definitely not a NASCAR track. But they're making it a NASCAR track, so we'll deal with it. We'll practice it. We'll race it. See what happens.
At Braxton, obviously, with this win here tonight, you are now one of 3 multi-time winners on the season. So, do you kind of now stack yourself up to Jeremy Boucher and Oscar Jensen, try and see if you can break that tie there to see who's going to have the most playoff points when you get to the regular season end? Or are you more so kind of looking towards stage wins to be able to get those extra playoff points that way?
Whichever way I can get the most points, I'm gonna try to go for that, whether it's for stage wins or for like leading the most laps. And anything I'm able to do to be able to get just that one extra point, I'm gonna try to do to definitely get up there with them in the points and be with them in the points heading into the playoffs. I think that'd be a pretty good thing to happen. I think it'd be a good advantage. So yeah, we gotta keep our game up, practice, make sure our cars handling right, making the right adjustments, making no mistakes, and having a clean race.
Braxton, congratulations on your second win on the season. A dominant car there in the second and final stage to be able to bring it home P1 here at a track that was very difficult, it seemed, for a number of drivers, but your car looked relatively clean during the entire course of the race. We're going to have the opportunity now for some thank you sponsors and shout-outs.
Yeah, I want to thank everybody for tuning in and watching. If you're tuning in and watching your second race tonight, support me. I appreciate it. You got to see 2 wins out of me. I don't really know what else you want me to do more, but well, there you go, 2 wins. I'm just as thrilled. I want to thank all you for watching and supporting me. I also want to thank all the sponsors. I want to thank Platinum Home Improvements for coming on the car. I've been really trying to put them up front and show them on the broadcast. You know, I really try to do that with all the sponsors I have. Try to get them as much TV time as they can, because I just feel like they deserve that. So I want to thank Zimmerman Concrete, Ron's Pizza, Bennett's Publicool, Ravenwood Enterprise, Scott Martin and Jeff Schmidt, NASCAR Technical Institute, King Grant Paints. I want to thank you guys for the broadcast. You guys do a great job. I love going back and watching you guys do it. I want to thank High Five for letting me race. I just want to thank everybody that supports me and stuff. I love doing this. I love winning. We'll see what we can do.
Just before you go, Braxton, I just wanted to pipe up and say one more thing. During the broadcast tonight, I did actually say you've been a little bit of a flash in the pan in terms of overall speed. You've had those, and I think it's something comes down to something you actually said during that piece, which I actually really enjoyed as well. You don't want to just sit there and turn out a consistent result. You're going for the win every single time you're out on the track, and unfortunately, that does lead to races where you're going to have a bad result. It's good to see you get your second win, because I think this is what you needed going forward for the remainder of the season. I mean, it's not going to change your approach. Like, I got that picture very quickly. I mean, how confident and comfortable does it make you feel after racking up win number 2?
It really makes me really confident. The past 3 weeks, and almost all of the races, I've had fast cars. It's just the hard work that goes into the setups. I want to thank Rocket Racing Setups. They're also a sponsor. We really do appreciate that. We use that. We go as a baseline and go to our liking. I was really tight at the beginning and then had to make our adjustments. So they're not always perfect, but they're definitely a very good starting point. I really do appreciate them. So yeah, they're really good baselines. Hopefully we can still get some very good baselines coming out, which I have no doubt about that won't happen. So I think we'll be good with that. As long as we do that and make the right adjustments, I think we could be good and keep finishing up front.
All right, well, Braxton, congratulations on your victory here tonight at Dover International, heading into the second half of the regular season as a 2-time winner. We look forward to seeing what you're able to do next week as you guys head to your first road course stop of the season at Coda.
Yeah, thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Now, I mentioned the fact that we're going to be going into Dakota pretty much blind in terms of statistics. You remember that Braxton said he did have a race at Coda this year? Well, through the beauty of Dan Lisa, I found it. He, in another league, started 19th and finished in 6th place. So remember, we were kind of looking at maybe who those road course ringers could be with no real previous history? Braxton could be one of those drivers looking for back-to-back wins and third win on the season.
Yeah, I mean, there's potential there. I'm gonna, this is my perspective on the road courses. Road courses in a regular car, and then road courses in NASCAR. They are completely different. I mean, the reason that we've seen the introduction of multiple chicanes over the last couple of years is because the needs, the requirements on the car, the ways the car flows around, it's very, very different to a normal road car. You look at the GT3 class and you look at the differences between them and the stock cars and the way that they handle, completely different. This is going to be one of the first times we actually see NASCAR as a whole out on what is a dedicated road course. Look, I'm not going to count Daytona road course. It's completely different. And the setups and the stylings is completely different. I can accept that it's a road course. Do I accept that it's a proper road course? No, I don't, but that's my own personal opinion of things. We'll get into that later. Coda is the first time that we will be seeing NASCARs as a whole on a proper road course performing to the same level, and that there are going to be comparisons drawn between this and F1 cars because it's the first time in a long time that we've had the ability to make that comparison. I think no matter what kind of car fan and racing fan you are, next week we are going to find a lot of different answers to a lot of different questions that have been asked by a lot of different people. I'm actually really, really excited. As a guy who's interested in numbers, who's interested in statistics, before I'm interested in from just the car guy's perspective as a whole. I think we're in for a really, really good week, and it makes me excited for the future of NASCAR as a motorsport.
And you're right, there are going to be a lot of questions we'll get answers to. One thing we do know for certain, though, last year, 3 road course stops in Season 1 of Clutch Drop. We had 2 different drivers go to victory lane in the 3 races, Watkins Glen, Road America, and the Charlotte Roval. Those 2 drivers have not made a start this season, so we are almost absolutely guaranteed that a driver will pick up their first road course win under the Clutch Drop Cup Series banner next week at Circuit of the Americas. So that is going to be a great one, but Checkered Flag Week's here tonight at Dover. Braxton DeWeese is a 2-time winner here this season, and he will join Jeremy Bushi and Oscar Jensen's a multi-time winner. We'll see if those 3 are going to settle out the tiebreaker of who's going to be the first 3-time winner, maybe as soon as next week at Circuit of the Americas. Scott, it's been a great one here tonight at the Monster Mile. Miles was hungry early, but he gave us a heck of a finish at the end. Appreciate you joining me in the booth.
No, it's a pleasure. I mean, look at the race that we had tonight. It was a great night to be out here on course and a great night to be able to experience what we experienced.
Thanks to everybody that tuned in tonight. Hope you guys enjoyed our coverage here from Dover International Raceway. Next week, again, these drivers will be at Circuit of the Americas for the first road course stop of the season. Join us Sunday night, green flag, scheduled to fly at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. For Scott Rankin, I'm Seth Cole. We'll see you guys next week as you've been watching another broadcast courtesy of the Flatout Racing Network.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of Flatout Racing Network and may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of Flatout Racing Network and iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations. Flatout Racing Network would like to thank you for your support, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast.